Chapter 271. Qin Feiyang heaved a sigh of relief. Although it looked easy on the surface, in reality, it was extremely difficult to convince a berserk beast, especially a cold-blooded creature of the War Emperor realm. Next, naturally, he had to help Wolf King open the door of potential. However, he didn't dare to take out the potential pill in front of the giant python. If it knew about it, who knew what would happen? Twice, Qin Feiyang brought Wolf King into the castle and let it consume the potential pill inside. Under the pressure of the giant python, Wolf King also successfully opened the second and third levels of the door of potential. His cultivation speed increased by leaps and bounds. After the matter was over, Qin Feiyang climbed onto the head of the giant python. The giant python brought him deep into the desert. As for Wolf King, he went to the castle to recuperate. Human brat, what was that light that appeared on the forehead of that wolf cub just now? When the door of potential was opened, the potential imprint would emit rays of light. However, Wolf King's imprint was covered by its hair, so the giant python was very puzzled. It's nothing. It's just that its forehead is a little strange. Sometimes there will be some light. I'm already used to it, Qin Feiyang said with a smile as he gave a perfunctory reply. So strange. Could it be some kind of beast god? The giant python was secretly shocked. After chatting for a while, Qin Feiyang sat on the giant python's head and refined the top-grade qi-gathering pill. On the way, the number of War Emperor realm berserk beasts they encountered could be said to be countless. However, because the giant python was very low-key, they did not make things difficult for it. Time flew by. A month passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, a cool sea breeze blew over, causing Qin Feiyang to be invigorated. He quickly stopped cultivating and stood up to look ahead. At the end of the desert was a long mountain ridge. The highest point of the mountain ridge was hundreds of feet high. The mountain stream was lush with vegetation and berserk beasts. On the other side of the mountain ridge was a blue sea that stretched as far as the eye could see. Looking from afar, there were no strong winds or waves. The sea was very calm. Human brat, don't be fooled by appearances. This sea is not simple. Do you see the fierce beasts living in the mountains? They all have the strength of War Emperor, but they don't dare to go near the sea. The giant python transmitted its voice. Ferocious beasts of the War Emperor realm could communicate telepathically without consuming any beast spirit pills. Qin Feiyang nodded. The more peaceful a place was, the easier it was to encounter danger. A moment later, the giant python flew over the mountain ridge and heard a sound coming from above a pile of rocks. Qin Feiyang jumped down and landed on a rock. He then entered the castle and took out a chinquan bag and threw it to the giant python. He cupped his hands and smiled. Senior, many thanks. However, I still need Senior to do me a small favor. The giant python checked and confirmed that there were 500 battle chi pills. It smiled and said, "What do you need? Speak." After a month of getting along, the python's attitude towards Qin Feiyang was not as cold as it was at first. "Senior, please wait a moment." Qin Feiyang sat cross-legged on the rock. He took out a qi-gathering pill and threw it into his mouth. After a month of bitter cultivation, he was about to break through. About an hour passed. Qin Feiyang's body trembled, and a powerful aura broke out from his body. Finally, he had stepped into the 9-star martial ancestor realm. Next, naturally, it was to open the third level of the gate of potential. However, before he went to the castle to consume the potential pill, he found a piece of black cloth and stuffed it into the clothes on his chest to cover the potential imprint. This way, the light emitted by the potential imprint could be concealed. After a painful struggle, he also successfully opened the third level. Ooh! After letting out a long breath, he raised his head to look at the giant python and smiled. "Senior, we'll meet again. The next time we meet, remember to give me a transformation pill and a barrier-breaking pill." The giant python looked at him suspiciously, but it didn't think too much about it. It dragged its huge body and soared into the air, disappearing from Qin Feiyang's line of sight like lightning. "I will," Qin Feiyang muttered to himself. This time it was all thanks to the help of the giant python. Otherwise, with his speed, it would take at least 2 to 3 years to reach the Sea of Despair. And now, only 2 months had passed since he left Yen City. Sea of Despair. Qin Feiyong turned around and looked at the sea in front of him, his brows gradually frowning. They had arrived, but how were they going to pass through the Sea of Despair? With a wave of his hand, Fatso, Lu Hong, and Wolf King were all brought out. This is the Sea of Despair? The 2 men and 1 wolf were all somewhat stunned. Clean beach. Calm sea. Warm sunlight. There was nothing scary about it at all. Boss, why don't we build a boat? Fatso suggested. Qin Feiyong said. Let's go to the seaside and take a look first. The 3 men and 1 wolf jumped onto the beach and ran towards the seaside. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong was surprised Wolf King's speed was so fast. With a few steps he was more than 10 meters away from them. White-eyed wolf, what's with your speed? Qin Feiyong asked. Just as he finished asking, an unbelievable thought crawled up in his mind, and said, could it be that you've already? That's right, Brother Wolf has already activated his battle soul and stepped into the War King. Wolf King turned around and grinned at him. So fast. Qin Feiyong was surprised. Wolf King had only opened the 3rd level of the Gate of Potential a month ago. Although opening the Gate of Potential would definitely increase one's cultivation speed, it was not so easy to break through between a 9-star martial ancestor and the War King. Although it was only a step away, the difference was like heaven and earth. Some people were unable to cross this step even after decades. There were even some people who were stuck at the 9-star martial ancestor for life and died with regrets. According to what Qin Feiyong knew, even those martial arts monstrous geniuses in the imperial capital would need more than half a year. But this guy actually only used a month's time. If this were to spread out, who knew how many geniuses would be angered to death? This also proved that this bastard white-eyed wolf's talent was not inferior to his. Qin Feiyong asked, then isn't your strength equivalent to a 3-star War King? Brother also wants to, but I don't know why, but this time I actually skipped levels consecutively. Wolf King said with some anger. No. Qin Feiyong was startled and said, in other words, your current strength is only that of a 1-star War King? Wolf King nodded. That's good. Qin Feiyong heaved a sigh of relief. If Wolf King continued to skip levels and break through, then he would not be a wolf but a monster. Bastard, you're very happy, aren't you? However, when Wolf King heard his words, he immediately turned hostile. It was fine if he did not sympathize with it, but he was actually gloating over its misfortune? This was intolerable. It pounced and bit Qin Feiyong's butt. Bastard, you're serious. Qin Feiyong immediately retreated. But now, his speed could not keep up with Wolf King. With a few leaps, the Wolf King landed behind him and bit his buttocks. Ouch! Qin Feiyong howled in pain and roared. Bastard, let go of me or else don't blame me for falling out with you. If you want to fall out with me, then so be it. I'm afraid of you. Wolf King's disdainful voice entered Qin Feiyong's mind. He bit down hard. Qin Feiyong was in so much pain that he was sweating profusely. Seeing that, Fatso and Lu Hong hurriedly ran over to persuade him, and finally made Wolf King release his fangs. Qin Feiyong touched his butt. Wet. At first glance it was blood. His pants were also torn. Bastard, you're actually serious. Qin Feiyong was furious. He took out Chong Shui and sneered. I'll castrate you right now, so that you won't be able to touch a female wolf for the rest of your life. You don't act recklessly. Fatso, Lu Hong, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and stop him. Wolf King ran while anxiously shouting at Fatso and Lu Hong. Although it had already stepped into the War King, Qin Feiyong had Chong Shui in his hands. If they really fought, he would definitely be castrated in the end. Boss, calm down, calm down. You should hurry up and change your pants. Chapter 272. The 2 of them stood by the sea, their eyes filled with confusion. The temperature was not cold at all, but the water of the Sea of Despair was so cold. It was too strange. Logically speaking, such cold water should be emitting cold air. Should even freeze. But on the surface there was no abnormality at all. It was really impossible to guard against. If someone was not careful and fell into the sea, they would definitely freeze to death. As expected, the giant python was right. The Sea of Despair was not simple. They could not be confused by its appearance. Boss, our luck is really good. We encountered a withered tree. A moment later, Fatso ran over excitedly with a log in his arms. Wolf King followed beside him. The log was as thick as 2 buckets and 5 meters long. It was just enough to make a canoe. Lu Hong frowned and looked at Qin Feiyang. She said firmly, "We can't use a canoe. We have to build a boat." The canoe was too small. Once it encountered a storm, it would definitely capsize. If it fell into the sea, Qin Feiyang would definitely die. Even if they could hide in the castle, they could not hide in the castle forever. Why not use a canoe again? Fatso and Wolf King did not understand. Lu Hong said solemnly, "You will know when you touch the sea." Fatso put down the log and looked at the two of them in confusion. He walked to the sea, put his hand in and quickly retracted it. His fat and oily face was filled with shock. How could this be? Wolf King was also very surprised. "Get out of the way!" Qin Feiyang shouted, picked up the log and threw it into the sea with a bang. Immediately after, under their shocked gazes, the log quickly sank to the bottom of the sea. The hearts of the 3 people and 1 wolf also sank to the bottom. The log had already dried up and could float on the water, but now it sank. It was enough to show that whether it was building a boat or a canoe, it would not work. Qin Feiyang sighed. "I finally understand why this place is called the Sea of Despair. Even a log could not float, how could it not make people despair? Bastard, Wang Hong sent us here to die." Fatso cursed. With their current abilities, it was impossible for them to cross this vast ocean. Wolf King said, "Why don't we go back to the county of Swallow first and come back after we reach the War Emperor level?" "I understand. Wang Hong is probably worried that I won't go to the prefecture capital after witnessing the horror of the Sea of Despair. That's why he used Yan Nanshan to threaten me." Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He pondered for a moment. He turned to Wolf King and said, "Go talk to the vicious beasts in the mountains and see if anyone is willing to give us a ride. Any price is fine." Wolf King turned around and ran towards the mountain behind him. After a full hour, Wolf King ran back and shook his head at Qin Feiyang. "Even the vicious beasts of the War Emperor realm don't dare to go." About 10 or 19 years old. Her long blonde hair was like waves, messily draped over her shoulders. Her facial features were very exquisite, and her skin was delicate and tender, with a hazy luster in the sun. It was simply a masterpiece of God. However, her upper body was naked. Her skin was as smooth as cream, and her slender waist was slender without any extra flesh. There was no cover at all on her chest. The waves were turbulent, majestic and spectacular. It made people's noses bleed. But, although the beauty in front of him had an angelic face and a devilish figure, Qin Feiyang did not have any evil thoughts. His eyes were fixed on the woman's lower body, and he swallowed his saliva. It was the same for Lu Hong. This was because the lower half of her body was not a pair of human legs, but a golden fishtail. Isn't this the legendary mermaid? There were mermaids in the Sea of Despair? Was he dazzled? Qin Feiyang rubbed his eyes hard and looked again. That golden fishtail really came into his sight. It was not a dream. It was not dazzled. It was real. To actually encounter a mermaid, and a mermaid that was in deep sleep, this was too inconceivable. The two of them could not come back to their senses for a long time. Everyone had heard of the legend of mermaids, but no one had ever seen one. Qin Feiyang used to think that it was just a legend, but he did not expect that it actually existed. Suddenly, the mermaid stretched her waist, looking very comfortable and comfortable. She slowly opened her eyes. It was a pair of beautiful eyes as clear as a human's. Her eyeballs were like 2 sapphires, exuding a charming luster. The moment she opened her eyes, she saw Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong, and a trace of surprise suddenly crept into her eyes. Ah! She was stunned for a moment. She suddenly screamed, covered her chest with both hands, and jumped into the sea in panic. With a thud, she disappeared from their sight. "Wait!" Qin Feiyang quivered and hurriedly shouted. However, the mermaid never came out again, and the sea quickly returned to calm. "Mermaid," Lu Hong muttered to herself. Her face was full of disbelief. Qin Feiyang swallowed his saliva and said with a wry smile, "It's not a dream, we really met mermaids." "Aren't mermaids just a legend?" Lu Hong obviously still couldn't accept it. "It turns out that legends are not necessarily false. Quickly send a message to Fatso and ask them to come over and meet us. I'm going to see if the seawater here is different from other places." Qin Feiyong shook his head, walked to the seaside, and reached out to touch the seawater. It was still cold and piercing. How do mermaids live in such a harsh environment? Qin Feiyong murmured, his eyes full of puzzlement. Were they used to it? Or could it be that they could only survive in such an environment? Qin Feiyong's head was full of doubts, and he really couldn't figure it out. Lu Hong walked to his side and said, I've informed them they'll be here soon. Mysterious human. Mermaid. It seems that the mysterious human mentioned by the python is a mermaid. Qin Feiyong pondered as he stood up and looked at the vast and boundless sea. Didn't the python say that there was a group of mermaids? It also said that they could fly and burrow into the ground. Can mermaids fly? Lu Hong asked. I don't know, mermaids are too elusive, and there are no detailed records about them in the ancient books. But what is certain is that as long as we find these mermaids, we will have a way to cross this vast sea. Qin Feiyong's eyes lit up. Dong! About half an hour passed. One figure after another suddenly rushed out of the sea. Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong's faces suddenly changed, and they hurriedly retreated. Those who rushed out were also mermaids. But unlike the mermaids before, they were all male mermaids. Every one of them was very tall, at least 2 meters tall. They were very burly and looked very ferocious. Those pairs of blue eyes were glowing with an astonishing fierce light, and each of them was holding a sharp blade in their hands. Some were broad serrated knives. Some were steel forks several meters long, shining with a terrifying edge. A total of 10 mermaids came out. They floated on the surface of the water, glancing at Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong. Suddenly, the sea surged, and another mermaid emerged on the surface of the sea. It was the mermaid from before. But at this moment her upper body was already wearing clothes. It was a golden scale garment made of golden scales. Her wavy golden hair was wet on the ground. Coupled with the golden scale garment and the golden fish tail, she looked like a noble empress, sacred and inviolable. And the other mermaids were very respectful to her. A tall mermaid next to her pointed a steel fork at Qin Feiyong and asked, Princess, is it him? Princess. Qin Feiyong was taken aback and couldn't help but look at Lu Hong. The two looked at each other. Encountering a mermaid was already a stroke of heaven-defying luck. But they never expected to meet the mermaid princess. Chapter 273. It's him. The mermaid princess nodded. Her voice was clear and pleasant to the ears. The merman with the steel fork roared ferociously, Damned human, how dare you peek at the princess? Get over here and await your punishment. Everyone, this is a misunderstanding. Let me explain. Qin Feiyong hurriedly said. This was a misunderstanding and he didn't mean to see it. Moreover, there was bone-chilling seawater in front of him. How could he roll over? The merman shouted impatiently, Don't quibble. You only have 2 choices now. One is to dig out your own eyes, and the other is to dig out your eyeballs myself. Lu Hong said in a low voice, They are all angry now. Let's retreat first. Okay. Qin Feiyong nodded. He grabbed Lu Hong's arm, turned around and ran towards the mountain ridge behind them. The mermaid princess pointed at the 2 of them and said, Black-winged guard, catch them. A surprising scene suddenly appeared. Dong! A figure jumped out of the water. He was also a merman, but on his back there were 2 black wings. Whoosh! With a flap of his wings, he was like a ray of light. His speed was unbelievably fast. In the blink of an eye, he caught up with Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong. He reached out with both hands, grabbing Qin Feiyong with one hand and Lu Hong with the other. He turned around and flew towards the mermaid princess. This is a merman who can fly? When Qin Feiyong saw the pair of black wings, he was slightly stunned. He took out Chang Shui and waved it at the black-winged guard's hands. The black-winged guard was shocked. He seemed to have seen that Chang Shui was extraordinary and hurriedly let go of his hand. Qin Feiyong and Lu Hong immediately fell onto the beach. Immediately after, Qin Feiyong sent Lu Hong into the castle. He looked at the mermaid princess and cupped his hands. I really didn't mean to offend you. Please forgive me, Your Highness. At the end of the day, he wasn't the one at fault. Who asked this mermaid to lie naked on the reef in broad daylight? At the same time, the mermaid princess suspiciously looked around Qin Feiyong. It seemed that she was looking for Lu Hong. A moment later, she looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, "Where's that woman?" Qin Feiyong said with a smile, "The outside world is too dangerous. I told her to go and hide for a while. Then I'll kill you first." A cold light flickered in the black-winged guard's eyes. He spread his wings and pounced towards Qin Feiyong with lightning speed. "Can't you guys be reasonable?" Qin Feiyong's temper also flared up. "There's no reason for a despicable man like you." The black-winged guard's eyes were filled with disdain as he mercilessly struck out with his palm. In the center of his palm there was a surge of true energy. This mermaid was actually a battle king. Qin Feiyong's pupils constricted. He stretched out his arm and struck out with his palm. Because the black-winged guard's speed was too fast, he couldn't dodge at all. A 3-star battle king being defeated by a 9-star martial ancestor was a great humiliation that he would never be able to wash away in his lifetime. Boom! Behind him, an illusory figure appeared. This was his battle soul. Impossible! However, when Qin Feiyong saw the battle soul, his body trembled. His face was filled with disbelief. That battle soul was actually a human figure. The battle soul was pitch black and its true appearance could not be seen. However, from its tall and sturdy figure, one could tell that it was a middle-aged man. Moreover, behind the battle soul, there were 2 black wings of light. "Human, turn into ashes." The black-winged guard raised his head and roared. The battle soul behind him was like a death god descending as it stepped towards Qin Feiyong. "Brother Wolf is here, don't be arrogant." At this moment, an incomparably arrogant voice sounded in the minds of Qin Feiyong and the mermaids. Qin Feiyong turned his head and saw that Wolf King was shrouded in a golden light. He was like a shooting star as he rushed towards them. "This is his battle chi?" Qin Feiyong muttered. "This bastard came at the right time. Little Qin Zi, I'll let you see my heaven-defying battle soul now." Howl! Wolf King's heroic spirit soared to the heavens. Following a wolf howl, a huge golden shadow appeared behind him. That huge shadow was as huge as a mountain. It was like a peerless ferocious beast had descended to the world. A terrifying and peerless ferocious aura enveloped the heavens and earth like raging waves. However, the huge shadow was very blurry. There wasn't even an outline. He didn't know what it was at all. However, when the huge shadow appeared, the black-winged guard's battle soul flew uncontrollably towards the huge shadow. "What's going on?" The black-winged guard was extremely shocked. He realized that he couldn't control the battle soul. It was as if the battle soul no longer belonged to him. Following that, an even more shocking scene appeared. When the battle soul flew in front of the huge shadow, the huge shadow suddenly opened its mouth and swallowed the battle soul in one gulp. "What's going on?" Qin Feiyong's eyes widened. The mermaid princess and the 10 mermaids were also so shocked that they couldn't speak for a long time. "My battle soul!" Suddenly, the black-winged guard roared hysterically. Qin Feiyong turned his head to look, a puzzled look in his eyes. Wasn't it just the battle soul being swallowed? Was there a need to be so exaggerated? The mermaid princess frowned and said, "Black-winged guard, what's going on?" "Princess, this subordinate can no longer summon the battle soul. Seems that I have lost this ability." The black-winged guard roared in panic. "Impossible," the mermaid princess said resolutely. Qin Feiyong also nodded in agreement. Once the battle soul was activated, it would merge with its master. As long as the master didn't die, the battle soul wouldn't be destroyed. Even if the battle soul was shattered by the enemy during a fight, it could continue to condense. It was absolutely impossible for the battle soul to disappear. Once Brother Wolf comes out, who dares to fight? You little shrimps, hurry up and come into Brother Wolf's mouth. I have never tasted the taste of a mermaid before. Wolf King brought the giant shadow and ran to Qin Feiyong's side, sweeping his gaze over the mermaid princess and the others. At this time, Fatso also ran out from behind a rock. The black-winged guard stared angrily at Wolf King and shouted, "What did you do to me?" Wolf King laughed sinisterly. "Isn't it just depriving you of your battle soul? What's there to be surprised about?" "Deprive?" Qin Feiyong was stunned. The mermaid princess and the others were also puzzled. "Boss, Brother Wolf's battle soul is extremely heaven-defying. As long as it is swallowed by his battle soul, the other party will completely lose their battle soul." Fatso laughed and ran over. "What? Qin Feiyong's body and mind trembled. He raised his head and looked at the giant golden shadow. The shock in his heart could not be described with words. The merfolk on the other side were also in a state of shock. How could there be such a terrifying battle soul in the world? Little Qin Zi, I have already said that I am a peerless wolf god and have been taught by an expert. You just didn't believe me. Do you believe me now? The Wolf King chuckled. Looking at Qin Feiyong's current expression, he was very happy. Peerless wolf god. Qin Feiyong muttered to himself. Was that really the case? Wolf King smiled proudly and looked at the mermaid princess and the others. He said disdainfully, how dare you bully little Qin Zi and Xiao Hong when I am not here? Are you tired of living? Give me back my battle soul. The black-winged guard looked at Wolf King ferociously. Every living creature could only activate their battle soul once in their life. If they lost it, they would be gone forever. Mermaid Princess said, I don't care who you are. Give him your battle soul immediately, or don't blame me for being angry. Why not? I'm curious. Why are you making things difficult for little Qin all of a sudden? Are all mermaids so unreasonable? Wolf King was puzzled. A mermaid holding a steel fork said angrily, this damn human peeked at the princess's body while she was basking in the sun. Shouldn't he be killed? Fatso said disdainfully, it's just a glance. What's the big deal? Fat Lord has seen it now. Do you also want to kill Fat Lord? Ahem. Qin Feiyong coughed and looked at the man and the wolf. He said awkwardly, you don't understand the situation. Don't make trouble for me. What's the situation? Chapter 274. This, Qin Feiyong stammered, and the atmosphere became more and more awkward. Fatso was stunned and turned to look at the mermaid princess. He found that not only was there a touch of red on her cheeks, but she also looked a little embarrassed. Fatso's face twitched, and he looked at Qin Feiyong strangely and asked, Boss, no wonder she was naked at that time, right? Qin Feiyong smiled embarrassedly. Damn, the legendary mermaid and a princess was actually seen naked by you. Boss, you have good luck with women. Tell me, what's her figure? Is it big? Fatso smiled wretchedly. A row of black lines appeared on Qin Feiyong's forehead. The mermaid princess's veins were bulging, and she shouted, Black-winged guard, go and bring a team up immediately. I want to tear their mouths apart. Yes. The black-winged guard responded respectfully, looked at Wolf King with resentment, and dived into the sea. Fatso's face changed, and he hurriedly said, Mermaid Princess, can't we talk nicely? The mermaid princess did not speak, and her face was as cold as ice. Wolf King glanced at the panicked Fatso and said, Coward, what are you afraid of? If they dare to come ashore, I will treat you to barbecued fish. Shut up, all of you. Qin Feiyong angrily rebuked. Whether they could cross the sea or not depended on the mermaid clan. Offending this princess was equivalent to offending the entire mermaid clan. Wasn't this causing trouble for him? Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and said, Princess, I apologize to you on behalf of them. I really mean no harm, please don't be angry. The mermaid princess said, If you dig out your eyeballs, I will let you go. Isn't this a bit too much? Qin Feiyong frowned. Whoosh! Before his voice died away, one by one mermaids with black wings flew out of the sea. There were 20 of them. Greetings, princess. They all knelt in the void and said respectfully, Take them down. The mermaid princess waved her hand, and the 20 black-winged guards charged towards Qin Feiyong and the others. Boom! Other than the first black-winged guard, a fighting soul appeared behind the others. Moreover, they were all humanoid fighting souls. The first black-winged guard quickly shouted, Don't activate your fighting soul. However, but it was too late. Swallow. Wolf King let out a long howl, and the giant golden figure behind him swallowed 19 war souls in one gulp. How could this be? The 19 black-winged guards turned pale with fright. Its fighting soul can rob us of our fighting souls. The first black-winged guard said, Why didn't you say so earlier? The 19 mermaids immediately glared at the black-winged guard. The mermaid princess frowned and shouted, Capture them alive. Capture them alive? Qin Feiyong was slightly stunned. His eyes flashed as he stretched out his hand and said, You don't have to do anything. I'll surrender." As he spoke, he sent Wolf King and Fatso to the castle. The mermaids present could not help but be surprised. He was still in front of them a moment ago, but he disappeared in an instant. Was this person a magician? "I've already surrendered. Can you listen to my explanation?" Qin Feiyong smiled at the mermaid princess. "Yes, but not now." The mermaid princess nodded and looked at him coldly. She waved her hand and said, "Take him and bring him to the palace." 2 black-winged guards immediately stepped forward and carried Qin Feiyong towards the sea. "Wait." Qin Feiyong's expression changed as he hurriedly said, "The sea is too cold. My mortal body can't withstand it." The mermaid princess ordered the 2 black-winged guards, "Give it to him." One of the black-winged guards took out a bead. It was as big as a pellet and was crystal clear, as if it was made of crystal. It was quite beautiful. Cold-avoiding bead? Qin Feiyong was surprised. This thing was a rare treasure that was hard to come by. As long as it was on him, no matter how cold it was, it would not be a threat to him. "Take it." The black-winged guard shouted with a gloomy face. "Thank you." Qin Feiyong thanked him and grabbed the cold-avoiding bead in his hand. "Let's go." The mermaid princess ordered and entered the sea with a group of mermaids. Qin Feiyong was escorted by the 2 black-winged guards and followed behind the mermaid princess, constantly rushing towards the deep sea. Although he had the cold-avoiding bead and was not afraid of the cold, the water pressure that followed almost suffocated Qin Feiyong. After a few more breaths, all the pores on his body were spurting blood. But just as he was about to enter the castle, the black-winged guard who was escorting him took out another bead and stuffed it into Qin Feiyong's hand. The water pressure dropped a lot. "What is it?" Qin Feiyong looked at it in surprise. "This is the water-avoiding bead." He was refreshed and hurriedly mobilized his true qi into the water-avoiding bead. A miraculous scene was discovered. As the true qi poured in, the water-avoiding bead emitted a hazy light, and the surrounding water pressure completely disappeared. Moreover, that radiance formed a transparent barrier around Qin Feiyong. The barrier was 3 meters wide, isolating the seawater from the outside. "Tsk, tsk, tsk." Qin Feiyong was secretly speechless. The water-avoiding bead was about the same size as the cold-avoiding bead. Its entire body was light blue, as if it was carved out of jade without the slightest flaw. It was rare to see such a thing. Even in the imperial capital it was priceless. But in the eyes of these mermaids it didn't seem to be very rare. That moment, Qin Feiyong's eyes lit up. It seemed that there were a lot of treasures at the bottom of the sea. The seawater was very clear. There were some fish creatures wandering around the barrier. The smallest one was a few meters long. The largest one was dozens of meters long. These creatures could no longer be called fish. They were sea beasts. They all looked extremely ferocious. However, they were very kind to the mermaid clan. There was even a trace of awe. Soon, Qin Feiyong saw another group of sea snakes. Each one was more than 10 meters long, and their narrow eyes were emitting a cold light. Not long after, another group of Neptune crocodiles, the longest of which was more than 50 meters long, swam in front of him like a mountain ridge. There was also a group of sawtoothed turtles, whose sharp fangs were like saw teeth, extremely terrifying. There were also ferocious tiger king sharks, Neptune lions, and so on. Moreover, there were also many mermaids with steel forks patrolling the water. Along the way, Qin Feiyong couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. He thought that it was impossible for there to be other creatures in such cold seawater. But he didn't expect that there would be so many deep-sea monsters. This was the true face of the Sea of Despair. Recalling his initial plan to cross the Sea of Despair with a canoe, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. What a naive and childish idea. He didn't know how long had passed. The bottom of the deep sea finally entered Qin Feiyong's sight. The scene at the bottom was completely beyond Qin Feiyong's imagination. As far as the eye could see, it was actually a flat building. Large and small palaces formed a huge underwater city. The glazed tiles of various colors were glowing in the water. Around the palace, colorful corals stood in a forest, and seaweed of all kinds grew. The colors were gorgeous, making people feel as if they were in a fairyland. Even with Qin Feiyong's temperament, he was still shocked. He didn't expect that there would be such a wonder in this unknown deep sea. He couldn't figure out how this city could stand tall at the bottom of the deep sea with such high water pressure. The mermaid princess landed in front of a golden palace. Apart from the 20 black-winged guards, the other mermaids all dispersed. "Bring him in," the mermaid princess said without looking back and swam into the hall. "It can't be." Qin Feiyong glanced at the ground and was immediately dumbfounded. The ground was inlaid with cold-repelling and water-repelling pearls. Just within a 5-meter radius, there were no less than 500 to 600 pearls. Wasn't this too extravagant? Could it be that these rare treasures were all radishes and cabbages here? It was no wonder that these buildings at the bottom of the sea could stand tall. The water-repelling pearls didn't need to be revived to have some effect. Just like before. As soon as Qin Feiyong held the water-repelling pearls, the pressure was reduced by a lot. In addition to such a huge number, it was naturally not a problem to protect this underwater city. "What are you looking at? Go in quickly." The 2 black-winged guards who were holding Qin Feiyong shouted impatiently and pushed him into the palace. The other black-winged guards were guarding outside the door. The ground in the palace was also inlaid with densely packed cold-repelling pearls and water-repelling pearls. Moreover, the stone pillars and walls in the palace were inlaid with pearls, gems, colored glass, jadeite and precious jade. This scene crazily impacted Qin Feiyong's values. It was too extravagant. Any one of these things was enough for a mortal to live a carefree life for several lifetimes. He was like a country bumpkin entering the city, constantly looking around. Right in front of him there was a throne. It wasn't made of gold, but of a very large piece of precious jade. The mermaid princess was sitting on the throne at this moment, her golden fishtail swaying leisurely in the water. When Qin Feiyong saw the throne, his eyes almost popped out. He had seen a lot of precious jade, but it was the first time he had seen such a big and pure treasure. Only now did he realize that he, the son of an emperor, used to be a frog in a well. Phew! After letting out a long breath, he secretly decided that he definitely couldn't let Wolf King and Fatso out. Otherwise, something big would definitely happen. "Kneel down!" The 2 black-winged guards shouted and pressed Qin Feiyong to the ground. Qin Feiyong's face immediately darkened. "Although I bow my head and surrender, it doesn't mean that I'm a prisoner. Besides, in the Great Qin Empire, other than Mother and Uncle Yuan, no one has the right to make me kneel." Qin Feiyong said coldly. "How dare you?" The 2 black-winged guards were furious and kicked Qin Feiyong's stomach at the same time. However, Qin Feiyong was like an iron pine tree, standing there proudly and motionlessly. "Forget it." The mermaid princess waved her hand and said to the 2 black-winged guards, "You guys go out and wait." "Yes." The 2 bowed and glared fiercely at Qin Feiyong, then turned around and quickly swam out of the palace. Qin Feiyong's expression also eased a lot. After stretching his muscles and bones, he put the water-avoiding pearl and the cold-avoiding pearl into his arms. Then, he raised his head and looked at the mermaid princess. To be honest, this woman was indeed very beautiful. She was not inferior to his cheap sister Run Wushuang, but it was the fishtail on her lower body that made him somewhat respectful. The mermaid princess also lowered her head and looked at him. This person had a dignified appearance and an extraordinary temperament. He even had the best quality pills on him. In the human world, his identity should not be simple. A moment later, the mermaid princess was the first to break the silence and said, "Call those 2 people and that wolf out." Qin Feiyong was stunned and said with a wry smile, "Princess, it's best not to let them out." Chapter 275. Why? The mermaid princess was puzzled. This? Qin Feiyong hesitated. It couldn't be that they weren't good people, right? A black-winged guard outside shouted, "If I tell you to shout, just shout. Why are you being so long-winded?" They really didn't understand why the princess didn't directly kill this person. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and turned to look at that person. "If something happens later, will you be responsible?" "I'll be responsible." That black-winged guard looked at Qin Feiyong contemptuously. Who dared to act recklessly here? All right. The corners of Qin Feiyong's mouth curled up. He was waiting for this sentence. He waved his hand and Fatso Lu Hong and Wolf King instantly appeared out of thin air. What is this place? Damn. Why are there so many treasures? Damn, my eyes are dazzled. The three of them scanned their surroundings in shock. It's all Fat Lord's. Fatso's eyes lit up and his saliva flowed. He took out a dagger and hurriedly ran to the stone pillar at the side, holding up the pearls and gems on it. Damn, Fatso, don't snatch it. Wolf King shuddered and roared. He immediately ran over and started snatching with Fatso. The mermaid princess and the black-winged guards were dumbfounded on the spot. Were they bandits? Lu Hong said in a low voice, Qin Feiyong, is it really okay to let them be so presumptuous? She was more reserved. Qin Feiyong said in a low voice, don't care about them. Do you see the pearls on the ground? Take the opportunity to get more. Lu Hong lowered her head and looked at the cold-repelling pearl and water-repelling pearl under her feet. A trace of doubt appeared in her eyes. She didn't have an illustrious identity like Qin Feiyong, so she didn't know what these pearls were. She also didn't know the value of these pearls. However, since Qin Feiyong had said so, she naturally wouldn't be polite. He took out a dagger from his Qinkuan bag and squatted on the ground, activating his frenzied sweeping mode. To be so impudent in front of the master was simply too rude. After the mermaid princess regained her senses, she glared at Qin Feiyong and said, tell them to stop. Fatso and Wolf King were stunned. Why did this voice sound so familiar? Aya, aren't you that princess? Why are you here? They followed the voice and looked over. When they saw the mermaid princess, a trace of surprise appeared in their eyes. The mermaid princess glared at the man and the wolf. She gritted her teeth and was so angry that her face turned red. Could it be that he had been treating her like air all this time? Was her presence that weak? What a big piece of jade. Brother Wolf, don't snatch it. It belongs to Fat Lord. Fatso, if you dare to snatch it, I'll kill you. Before the mermaid princess could react, Fatso and Wolf King had their eyes on her throne and rushed over. With a large number of cold avoidance pearls and water avoidance pearls, there was no need to worry about water pressure and cold. Get out of the way, don't block the way. Rushing to the throne, Fatso waved his hand and pushed the mermaid princess away. The mermaid princess was about to explode with anger. After all, she was the master of this place. How could he push her away? However, Fatty and the Wolf King didn't pay any attention to her. Their eyes shone brightly as they stared at the jade. The color is bright and crystal clear. This is a piece of top-grade jade. It's priceless. Brother Wolf, how about we split it? Sure, we're all on the same side anyway. There's no need to fight over it. You keep it first. The man and wolf communicated telepathically. With a wave of his hand, Fatso put the jade into his Qiankuan bag without hesitation. He really took it away? The mermaid princess was stunned. Wow, Brother Wolf, look, that pearl is bigger than a wash basin. Take it away. Damn, this gem is even bigger than a fist. It's so colorful and beautiful. Take it away. And these jade, glass and jade stones, they all look very valuable. Brother Wolf, what does Fat Lord want? Take them all away. The man and the wolf went crazy. They saw it and took it away. Those who didn't know would think that this was their home. The palace, which was originally neat and tidy, became a mess in a short while. The mermaid princess was so angry that she went crazy. Looking at the group of stunned black-winged guards at the door, she shouted, "What are you waiting for? Drag them away." "Not good, retreat," Wolf King shouted. The man and wolf hurriedly rushed to Qin Feiyong's side. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and sent Lu Hong, Fatso, and Wolf King into the castle. Qin Feiyong pointed at a black-winged guard and said with a smile, "Princess, you heard it with your own ears just now. If anything happens, he will take responsibility." The black-winged guard was instantly furious. He did say it. But how did he know that this man and wolf would be such bastards? Even the princess's throne had been robbed. They were even more despicable than bandits. "Take them away and imprison them," the mermaid princess shouted angrily. The palace had been tormented to such a state, and she was not in the mood to continue the interrogation. The two black-winged guards stepped forward aggressively and reached out to grab Qin Feiyong. "I can walk on my own." Qin Feiyong waved his hand and slapped their arms away. He looked at the mermaid princess and said, "I don't have time to waste. I hope Princess can let me leave as soon as possible." After saying that, He turned around and looked at the two black-winged guards. "Lead the way." A fierce glint flashed across their eyes. They turned around and walked out of the hall. Qin Feiyong followed with large strides. "Quickly tidy up this place." The mermaid princess swam out of the palace and instructed the remaining black-winged guards. Then she swam towards a glorious palace. The palace was tall and majestic. It was located in the center of the undersea city. It was like a king, grand and ancient. Around the palace, there were black-winged guards standing straight. "Greetings, princess." When the mermaid princess arrived, the black-winged guards bowed and greeted her. "Where's father?" the mermaid princess asked. Reporting to princess, "The emperor is resting in his bedchamber." One of the black-winged guards said respectfully, "Open the door." The mermaid princess ordered. Her eyes, which were originally full of vigor, seemed a little dim at this moment. The black-winged guard turned around and gently pushed open the door of the palace. After the mermaid princess went in, the door of the palace slowly closed. The decorations here were even more luxurious than the palace from before. To humans, this was simply a huge treasure trove. In the deepest part of the palace, there was a bed made of jade. A white-haired mermaid was lying on it. Beside him, there were a few young mermaids taking care of him. These mermaids had white tails. The clothes on their bodies were also made of pure white fish scales. They looked delicate and refined. "Greetings, princess." In fact, they were all the mermaid emperor's maids. Each of them could be said to be peerless beauty. However, compared to the mermaid princess, they were much inferior. The mermaid princess smiled and said, "You all can leave first." Yes. The few maids left the palace in an orderly manner. After the door of the palace closed, the mermaid princess lowered her head to look at the mermaid emperor. She asked with concern, "Father, are you all right?" "I'm fine. I can still hold on for a while." The mermaid emperor slowly got up. His face was full of wrinkles and he looked very old. His eyes were also very cloudy. However, when he looked at the mermaid princess, his eyes were full of love. "Father, I will definitely think of a way to extend your life." The mermaid princess' eyes turned red. "Life and death are up to fate. Child, these things cannot be forced. The only thing I am worried about now is you. You are still young and weak. Moreover, you are a girl. I am worried that when you inherit the throne, the black-winged king and the white-winged king will harm you." The mermaid emperor sighed deeply. The mermaid princess bit her red lips and said, "Why don't we just give the throne to them? I don't care anyway." "No, they're a bunch of ambitious people. If we give the throne to them, it won't be long before they bring disaster to our mermaid clan. Our mermaid clan is indebted to the first emperor. We have survived in the sea of despair for tens of thousands of years. We must not be destroyed in their hands." The mermaid emperor said, "I understand. I will definitely work hard." The mermaid princess nodded. "This matter cannot be delayed any longer. Father will publicly announce that you have inherited the throne tomorrow. Child, the mermaid clan will depend on you in the future." The mermaid emperor smiled. "So soon?" The mermaid princess was stunned. She hurriedly said, "Father, it's too soon. I am not ready yet." Bang! At this moment, the door of the palace was knocked open. "You are not ready, but I have been ready for a long time. Mermaid Emperor, pass the throne to me. I promise that I will lead our mermaid clan to create an unprecedented glorious era." A coarse voice sounded. A mermaid wearing black scales barged into the palace. He was tall and sturdy. His eyes were like torches. There were 4 black wings on his back. The mermaid princess was furious. She shouted, "Black Wing King, my father is not dead yet. How dare you be so presumptuous?" "Princess, please calm down." The Black Wing King cupped his hands, but there was no respect on his face. "Humph!" The mermaid princess snorted coldly. "Black Wing King, if you can guarantee that you will never invade the territory of humans, I can consider passing the throne to you." The mermaid emperor said expressionlessly, "What a joke. Humans are humans. Mermaids are also humans. Why can they live on land? Do we have to live in this narrow place?" The Black Wing King sneered. His 4 black wings were steaming with black light. It was full of hostility. If it were not for the mercy of the first emperor, our mermaid clan would have perished long ago. Is the lesson from 10,000 years ago not enough? Have you forgotten the ancestral teachings left by our ancestors? The mermaid emperor said angrily. Haha, at this moment. Another burst of wild laughter sounded. The laughter was full of mockery towards the mermaid emperor. A white-winged mermaid with an astonishing aura swept into the mermaid emperor's palace. His body was thin. His eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. There were 2 snow-white wings on his back. His fishtail was also as white as jade. His chiseled face was full of arrogance. This person was the White Wing King. You are really rebellious. Do you know the difference between a ruler and his subjects? The mermaid princess said sternly. The White Wing King glanced at the mermaid princess. He did not take her seriously at all. He looked up at the mermaid emperor and said disdainfully, "It has been almost 10,000 years. Who still remembers the ancestral teachings of our ancestors? You are blaspheming the divine might of our ancestors. You are being disrespectful to our ancestors." Chapter 276. Father, don't be angry. The mermaid princess hurriedly went up to support the mermaid emperor and gently rubbed his chest. Yes, don't be angry. If you die, we will have one less wise emperor. The Black Wing King and the Black Wing King mocked. Get lost. Get out of here right now. The mermaid emperor roared. We will get lost. But if you really dare to announce tomorrow that the princess will take over the throne, I guarantee that the palace will be very lively. The 2 of them threatened without hiding anything and turned around to leave. The mermaid princess sighed. Father, did you see that? They won't let their daughter take over the throne. Sigh. The mermaid emperor sighed deeply, and there was a kind of sadness on his old face. There must be a way to help father. The mermaid princess's heart ached. She must protect the continuation of the mermaid clan, and not let the Black Wing King and the Black Wing King run amok. Suddenly, a figure appeared in her mind and she smiled. Father, you rest first. I will go out for a while. Be careful. The mermaid emperor warned. The mermaid princess nodded, helped the mermaid emperor lie down, and then turned to leave the palace. At the same time, a dark ancient castle was located in the northernmost corner of the undersea city. It shone with a cold luster in the water. Here, there was no coral. There was no seaweed. There were few people and it seemed a little dark. Inside the ancient castle there were a total of 2 floors. There were hundreds of cells separated by iron pillars as thick as an arm. Many prisoners were locked up in each cell. They were all mermaids who had committed great crimes. Get in. In front of a certain cell, the 2 Black Wing guards suddenly pushed Qin Feiyong in. The 2 of them also entered the cell and closed the big iron door tightly, looking at him with evil intentions. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. After stabilizing his body, he turned to look at the 2 people and said in a deep voice, "What do you want to do?" He was the only one in this cell. However, there were more than a dozen mermaids in the 2 cells next to him. They were all looking at him curiously. Do what? Weren't you very arrogant before? Are you scared now? The 2 of them walked towards Qin Feiyong step by step, their eyes flashing fiercely. Scared? The corners of Qin Feiyong's mouth lifted slightly. The auras that these 2 people exuded were obviously weaker than the Black Wing Guard that they had fought earlier. He should be a 2-star battle king. Now that his fighting soul had been taken away by Wolf King, his strength could not be used to its peak. There was nothing to worry about. As for the 2 of them, it was obvious that they were still unaware of his methods. You still dare to be arrogant now? Are all humans as stupid as you? King is right. It's a great shame for the great Qin Empire to be ruled by people like you. Their faces were filled with disdain. Qin Feiyong frowned. Could it be that the Merfolk clan wanted to rebel? Brat, kneel down right now and we'll let you go this time. The 2 Black-Winged guards' eyes turned cold. Previously, in the Mermaid Princess Palace, they had asked Qin Feiyong to kneel down, but Qin Feiyong refused to do so. They had been holding a grudge against him all this time. Now that Qin Feiyong was imprisoned, how could they let go of this good opportunity to humiliate him? Kneel down. Qin Feiyong crossed his arms and looked at the 2 of them playfully. If you kneel down and beg for mercy now, I can consider letting you go. You're courting death. The two of them were furious. At the same time, they slapped their palms toward Qin Feiyang. Battle chi emerged from their palms, and a shocking destructive force surged in all directions like a volcanic eruption. The merfolk in the neighboring cells retreated to a corner in fear and curled up together. You're the ones courting death. Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with killing intent as he stretched out his hands. At the same time, he activated the return formula. A golden light appeared. Bang! Clang! The palms collided, and the two black-winged guards were sent flying. Their arms were lacerated, and they slammed into the iron pillar behind them. The iron pillar that was as thick as an arm was bent, and the two black-winged guards saw stars. How is this possible? The merfolk in the next cell were all dumbfounded. Whoosh! However, it was not over yet. Qin Feiyang took another step forward, took out the Chong Shui, and stabbed the two black-winged guards in the chest. Ah! The two black-winged guards screamed miserably, and their faces were distorted. Humph! Qin Feiyang snorted and retreated to the side. He called out Fatso and Wolf King and said, "Beat them to death. Eat your fat lord's fist. I want to eat roasted wings." The man and the wolf immediately pounced on them. Ah! The two black-winged guards screamed miserably, and no one dared to listen to them. Human, how did you do it? They are battle kings and you are only a 9-star martial arts grandmaster. How could you send them flying with one palm? Do you have some kind of technique? Teach us quickly. The merfolk in the cells on both sides looked at Qin Feiyang one after another and asked him questions at once. Technique? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He could not help but smile bitterly and ask, "Why are you locked up here?" "Of course we broke the law." "What about you? Aren't you supposed to live on land? Why did they lock you up here?" These merfolk were like curious babies. Qin Feiyang said helplessly, "I accidentally saw your princess's body." "What? Is it the kind that's naked? Damn, you're our idol. Tell us, how is the princess's figure? Is it big? Is her skin tender? Are there any traces of it being exploited?" The merfolk on the first floor went crazy. The princess's body was priceless, and this kid had seen it all. He was really lucky. Why were they not so lucky? If they could take a look or touch it, it would be worth it even if they died. Qin Feiyang looked at them in a daze with a strange look in his eyes. They were all a bunch of perverts. Ahem. Qin Feiyang coughed and said with an embarrassed smile, "Don't misunderstand. I didn't plan it. I just accidentally saw it." "That's still worth it." Everyone looked at him with envy. Qin Feiyang was speechless. "I say enough. The princess is actually quite pitiful. Don't make fun of her." An older merman sighed. "Pitiful?" Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He looked up at the man and asked, "Senior, how is she pitiful?" The older merman said, "You must have just arrived here." Qin Feiyang nodded. "That's right. The mermaid emperor's time is up, and he has no son. He only has the princess as his daughter. The princess will definitely be the next empress." The older merman said, "Isn't that great?" Qin Feiyang said, "To become the empress of a generation, how many people dreamed of this? How could it be pitiful?" "It's good, but the black-winged king and the white-winged king will not agree. They have been coveting the throne for a long time. If the mermaid emperor really dares to pass the throne to the princess, they will definitely rebel. The princess will be dead then." Those merfolk all showed sympathy. "I see." Qin Feiyang suddenly realized that this mermaid did not have it easy. "You were imprisoned here by the mermaid emperor. Why do you sympathize with her? Logically speaking, these merfolk should hate the mermaid princess. But now there was no hatred on their faces. It was the black-winged king and the white-winged king who ordered us to be imprisoned. The mermaid emperor is actually very kind. Yes, as long as they are not crazy criminals, he will give them a chance to turn over a new leaf. The princess is also very understanding." Those merfolk said. Qin Feiyang said, "So you're saying that he's also a wise emperor?" Everyone nodded. He believed in the wisdom of the mermaid emperor, but he did not agree with the understanding of the mermaid princess. Boom! This time, accompanied by a loud noise, the gate of the castle opened, and an indescribably beautiful woman entered the castle. "It's the princess." Princess, why are you here? The prison was suddenly in an uproar. The mermaid princess smiled and went straight to Qin Feiyang's prison. But when she saw Wolf King and Fatso beating up the two black-winged guards, her red lips could not help but open slightly. She was shocked. Stop! She hurriedly shouted. TSK, who do you think you are? Wolf King glanced at her disdainfully and said, Fatso, I want roasted wings. Cut off their wings for me. Okay. Fatso howled excitedly, took out his dagger, and cut off the wings of the two black-winged guards. Ah! Their hearts had already been pierced by Qin Feiyang. Then they were beaten up by a man and a wolf. Now their wings were cut off. At this moment, accompanied by painful screams, they died. Dead. The mermaid princess and the merfolk in the prison all looked at the two men and the wolf in shock. They actually dared to kill the black-winged guards? Weren't they afraid that the black-winged king would come and find trouble with them? That's right. They had just arrived here and did not know who the black-winged king was. How terrifying was he? This was the so-called newborn calf is not afraid of the tiger. The mermaid princess's face was as cold as frost as she said coldly, You guys are really bold. You're right this time. I'm not bold, but I'm bold. How about it? Wolf King stood up and stared at her provocatively. The mermaid princess almost went crazy, but for some reason she endured it. She looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Make them disappear from my sight immediately and then follow me. I have something to ask you. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He actually didn't pursue the matter? Strange. With a wave of his hand, he sent Wolf King and Fatso into the castle. Then, he opened the iron door of the prison and strode out. After leaving the ancient castle, the mermaid princess brought Qin Feiyang to a coral reef not far away. Then they entered a dense patch of seaweed. Only after dozens of meters did the mermaid princess stop. This place was very remote and there were no traces of other merfolk. Qin Feiyang looked around and asked suspiciously, Princess, why did you bring me here? Shouldn't she be interrogating him? But from the looks of it, the mermaid princess didn't seem to have any intention of interrogating him. The mermaid princess asked, Where did your top-grade pills come from? Why do you ask? Qin Feiyang frowned and couldn't help but become vigilant. If you want to leave the sea of despair, answer me truthfully. Chapter 277. Qin Feiyang did not answer. He stared at her intently. Being stared at by that fiery gaze, the mermaid princess slowly felt uncomfortable. Do you have something to ask of me? Qin Feiyang asked. No. What can I ask of you? Moreover, with your little strength you can't help me much. The mermaid princess shook her head and said coldly. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth raised, and he laughed. I won't hide it from you, I am a top-grade alchemist. The mermaid princess was shocked as she looked at him in shock. There was a trace of doubt in her eyes. You don't believe me? Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and a large number of pills appeared. There were chi-gathering pills, healing pills, bone-replenishing pills, and so on, all with dazzling pill grain. It really is a top-grade pill. The mermaid princess's heart was on fire, and she asked, Then did you help me refine a prolonging life pill? Prolonging life pill? Qin Feiyang was startled. He kept the pill in front of him and said with a faint smile, Didn't you just say that you have nothing to ask of me? Then are you going to help me or not? The mermaid princess blushed a little. She was so cold and arrogant even when asking for help. This woman really had a personality. Qin Feiyang could not help but tease. What benefits can I get from helping you? Not only did I let you go, but I also saw At this point, the mermaid princess could not help but lower her head, her face as red as fire. What did you see? Qin Feiyang held back his laughter and looked at her in confusion. Look, the mermaid princess stammered for a while, then raised her head and glared at him. You did it on purpose, didn't you? Haha, Qin Feiyang laughed heartily. This woman was quite fun. Then, his face turned solemn as he lowered his head and fell silent. He naturally knew what the prolonging life pill was. A prolonging life pill could extend one's life for 100 years. If it was a top-grade life-prolonging pill, it would definitely be able to extend one's life. However, every living being could only take it once in their lifetime. In the imperial capital, Many old fellows would choose to consume the life prolongation pill on the eve of their death. However, the ingredients for the life-prolonging pill were extremely rare. It was probably on par with the potential pill. Because of this, the price was quite high. Putting aside the medicinal ingredients, just the pill formula alone was a huge problem. It was definitely in the pill mantra. However, he hadn't broken through to the Battle King realm yet, so he couldn't open the second page. It was definitely unrealistic to refine it now. What? Is there any problem? Seeing that he didn't say anything, the mermaid princess couldn't help but feel nervous. Qin Feiyong said, I don't think I've agreed to it yet, right? The mermaid princess's face turned pale. I need to think about it. Qin Feiyong didn't promise her just because of that. Although the mermaid emperor had a good reputation, the supreme grade prolongation pill was no small matter. What if she extended his life and he became greedy again? Therefore, before agreeing, he had to personally meet the mermaid emperor. How long do you need to think? The mermaid princess asked. That depends on my mood. Qin Feiyong grinned and turned around to return the way he came. The mermaid princess looked at his back with a hint of melancholy in her eyes. Sigh. She sighed deeply and quickly chased after him. She forced a smile and said, Shall I take you around for a walk? That's not good. You're a princess after all. Qin Feiyong said. It's okay. I won't be a princess for long anyway. The mermaid princess's eyes were a little dim. Qin Feiyong looked at her deeply and nodded. Well, I'll enjoy the scenery of this undersea city. Under the mermaid princess's lead, Qin Feiyong saw too many incredible things. For example, buildings floating in the water, mermaids of various forms. Of course, there was no lack of beautiful mermaids. Moreover, there was no distinction between day and night. All kinds of pearls, corals, seaweed, and jade were emitting a soft light, shining on every corner of the undersea city. In short, everything here couldn't be seen with common sense. After walking for a long time, Qin Feiyong saw a square in the distance. He could faintly see a few behemoths standing in the square. Qin Feiyong walked towards the square and asked, Princess, are there no alchemists in the mermaid clan? No. The mermaid princess shook her head, saying, Nothing could be perfect. Although the mermaid clan had inexhaustible treasures, elixirs were an extravagant hope for them. Then how did you recognize the best elixir at a glance? Qin Feiyong was puzzled. It's recorded in the ancient books left by our ancestors. Moreover, occasionally, there will be humans who enter the sea of despair and die here. If we find them, we will take away their Qiankuan bag. The mermaid princess explained. Qin Feiyong nodded. Suddenly, he stopped and a trace of doubt crept up on his face. Just a moment ago, in his heart there was a strange throbbing. This was a feeling of familiarity. There seemed to be something pulling him. What's wrong? The mermaid princess looked at him in confusion. Nothing. Qin Feiyong smiled and continued to walk towards the square. The undersea city was isolated from the world. How could there be something related to him? Maybe it was just a whim. However, to his surprise, the sense of familiarity became stronger and harder to calm down. Why is this happening? Qin Feiyong stopped again and looked up at the square. He found that this sense of familiarity came from the square. That is the holy land of our mermaid clan. Every mermaid who is about to step into the War King realm will go there to receive the inheritance. The mermaid princess introduced. Holy Land. Qin Feiyong frowned. Why did the holy land of the mermaid clan give him such a feeling? He took large strides and walked quickly towards the holy land. The mermaid princess hurriedly said, You can't go. The holy land is not for outsiders to enter. I'm not going in. I'm just looking outside. Qin Feiyong said without looking back. As he got closer, the sense of familiarity became stronger and stronger, impacting every cell in his body. The blood in his body seemed to be burning. Finally, he used the smoke-gathering steps and rushed towards the square. The mermaid princess anxiously chased after him, afraid that Qin Feiyong would trespass into the holy land. Soon, Qin Feiyong could clearly see the entire holy land. The holy land was about 10,000 feet. There were hundreds of mermaids standing around. On their backs there were 2 white wings. According to the mermaid princess, These white wing guards were responsible for maintaining the order of the undersea city. As for the black wing guards, they were responsible for maintaining the order of the sea outside. In the center of the Holy Land there were 4 stone statues. The leading stone statue was the tallest, at least a dozen meters tall. The other 3 stone statues were shorter by a head, and lined up side by side behind the tall stone statue. There were more than a dozen mermaids who were crawling at the feet of the 4 stone statues. Their faces were pious as they muttered. They were all 9-star martial grandmasters and were receiving the inheritance. What a familiar back view. Qin Feiyang's gaze locked onto the tall stone statue as he muttered to himself. That back view seemed familiar. But for a moment he couldn't remember. What are you looking at? The mermaid princess looked at him suspiciously. Why did this person become strange the moment he reached the Holy Land? Qin Feiyang didn't answer her. He took a detour and came to the front of the stone statue. The entrance to the Holy Land was in front of the stone statue. Stop! This is the Holy Land of our clan, you can't go in. The 2 white wing guards guarding the entrance immediately waved the 5-feet-long halberds in their hands and stopped Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang glanced at them indifferently and raised his head to look at the stone statue. Boom! When he saw the face of the stone statue, he exploded. In his head, it was as if thunder was roaring and rumbling. How is this possible? Deep disbelief crept up on his face. The face of the stone statue was well defined. One could tell at a glance that he was a middle-aged man. His face seemed to have been carved by a knife, with a sense of vicissitudes. That pair of eyes were bright and full of spirit, like a pair of eyes of the heavens, as if they could see through everything and see the origin of the world. In his hand he was holding a broken sword. That's right. It was a broken sword. There was no sword tip. Although it was only carved from stone, one could still feel the shocking sharpness. It felt as if as long as he waved his sword, the world would be split into 2. In a trance, that body of more than 10 meters was like a towering mountain, emitting a king's domineering aura that made one tremble. The owner of this stone statue was definitely an overlord of the world. Qin Feiyang, what's wrong with you? The mermaid princess chased over and looked at him in surprise. It's him. But why would his stone statue be here? Qin Feiyang acted as if he didn't hear it and kept muttering in his heart. He had seen this stone statue before. Even a few years ago he would see it every day. That face, that broken sword, had already been engraved in the depths of his soul. And he would never forget it. Because in the center of the imperial capital, there was an identical stone statue. And the owner of this stone statue was his ancestor, the first emperor. But why would the statue of the first emperor be here? Qin Feiyang's heart was in a mess. Take that human down for this king. All of a sudden, an angry shout sounded. The white-winged king flapped his wings, bringing with him an astonishing baleful aura as he broke through the waves. The 2 white-winged guards guarding the entrance immediately went forward and grabbed Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was indifferent. He even seemed to not notice as he stared at the statue of the first emperor. Seeing this, the mermaid princess took a step forward and stood in front of Qin Feiyang shouting, "All of you stop for this princess." The 2 white-winged guards frowned and hurriedly retreated, raising their heads to look at the white-winged king who was flying over. Whiz! The white-winged king landed at the entrance and coldly snorted. "Princess, what do you mean?" The mermaid princess said, "This princess hasn't asked you yet. What right do you have to capture him? He killed 2 of my black-winged guards in prison and even cut off their wings. This kind of action is not only provoking this king, but also declaring war on my mermaid clan. This person must be handed over to this king to deal with." The white-winged guard shouted, "What? He's actually so vicious. Doesn't he know that wings are more important than our lives to us? Kill him, we must kill him." Chapter 278. The mermaid princess turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was still staring at the statue, she couldn't help but feel anxious. What exactly was this person doing? The White Wing King had personally come to find him. Could he have some reaction? The White Wing King's eyes flashed with a sinister light. He glanced at Qin Feiyang and said in a deep voice, "Princess, please step aside immediately." At this moment, the Black Wing King also broke through the waves and said coldly, If you don't hand him over, even if you are the princess, this king will not let this matter rest. They're all here. The mermaid princess's expression changed. I was the one who asked Qin Feiyang to kill those 2 black wing guards. In a moment of desperation, she blurted out these words. What? Princess, why did you do it? The white wing guards looked at her in disbelief. The black wing king shouted, Nonsense, who doesn't know that you love your people like your children? How could you do such a thing? The white wing king followed, That's right, don't take the blame for him. I didn't take the blame for him. Those 2 black wing guards were talking about me in the prison, and I happened to hear it. In a fit of anger, I asked Qin Feiyang to help me kill them. What? Are you going to interfere now even if this princess kills 2 scum? The mermaid princess said coldly. If it was really the princess who did it, then this king naturally wouldn't dare to interfere. But this king has asked those prisoners. It clearly has nothing to do with you, princess. What's the reason for you to protect him like this? The Black Wing King said in a deep voice. You believe the words of the prisoners? To think that you are the kings of the mermaid clan. You really don't have brains. The mermaid princess sneered. The Black Wing King and the other 2 couldn't help but clench their fists tightly. Their eyes were frighteningly gloomy. At this moment, Qin Feiyang suddenly took a step forward and stepped into the holy land of the mermaid clan. With another step, he landed in front of the statue of the first emperor. The mermaid princess was stunned and immediately became angry. Was this guy crazy? Didn't he say that he couldn't enter the holy land? Why didn't he listen? Wasn't it troublesome enough? Damn it! How dare you trespass into my clan's forbidden grounds? Kill him! The Black Wing Emperor and the White Wing Emperor roared at the same time. More than 30 White Wing guards immediately rushed toward Qin Feiyang with murderous intent. In this world, apart from Uncle Yuan and my mother, there is a third person worthy of me, Qin Feiyang, paying my respects. That is you, ancestor. Qin Feiyang fell to his knees with a thud. The group of White Wing guards stopped and looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and respectfully knelt 3 times and kowtowed 9 times. The first emperor was not only a legend but also his goal. Ever since he was young, he had longed to become a supreme overlord like the first emperor. In fact, he even surpassed the first emperor. The kowtow was complete. Qin Feiyang stood up and looked at the White-Winged King and the White-Winged King with a cold smile. What are you waiting for? Kill him quickly. The White-Winged King shouted. The group of White-Winged Kings immediately charged toward Qin Feiyang. Boom! But suddenly, the statue of the first emperor trembled slightly and let out a deafening sound. Qin Feiyang suddenly turned around and looked up at the statue. At this moment, the entire undersea city was shocked. No matter which corner the mermaids were in, they all looked toward the sacred ground. What's going on? Why did the emperor's statue move? The Black Wing Emperor, the White Wing Emperor, the Mermaid Princess, the White Wing Guards, and the dozen or so mermaids who were receiving the inheritance also raised their heads at the same time and looked at the emperor's statue in surprise. Almost 10,000 years. The statue of the first emperor had never had any abnormalities. Today was the first time. And at this moment, Qin Feiyang felt a sense of familiarity in his heart that was unprecedentedly strong. That was a kind of kinship where blood was thicker than water. Boom! Crash! Suddenly, the entire statue emitted a purple-gold aura, and the entire sacred ground instantly turned into a vacuum zone. The seawater was separated, and the next door was outside. Following closely, the phenomenon reappeared. 2 beams of dazzling purple-gold divine light shot out from the statue's eyes and headed straight for Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang wanted to dodge, but he was shocked to find that his body couldn't move. In an instant, Qin Feiyang was enveloped by the divine light. His whole body slowly floated up into the air. He didn't stop until he was in front of the statue. This is the inheritance of the first emperor. A trembling voice sounded. The Mermaid Emperor flew over from afar. His old, cloudy eyes sparkled like 2 bright moons. The inheritance of the emperor? The Mermaid Princess and the others were stunned, looking at the Mermaid Emperor with some confusion. This is an ancient secret that only the Mermaid Emperors of each generation know. Back then, the first emperor left his inheritance in the statue. Only one kind of person in the world can obtain his inheritance. And this human youth undoubtedly meets this condition. The Mermaid Emperor's eyes were fanatical, and he was so excited that his body was trembling. "Father, what kind of person is it?" the Mermaid Princess asked. The black-winged monarch and the white-winged monarch also looked at him in surprise. "I can't say. If I say it, I will anger the first emperor, and there will be divine punishment." The Mermaid Emperor shook his head, pretending to be mysterious. The black-winged monarch snorted, spread his 4 wings, and rushed toward Qin Feiyang with shocking murderous intent. Seeing this, the white-winged monarch also rushed toward Qin Feiyang. "We can't let them interfere with Qin Feiyang receiving the inheritance." The Mermaid Princess's face changed. "Child, don't worry. They won't succeed because no one in the Great Qin Empire dares to offend the first emperor." The Mermaid Emperor smiled. Before he finished his words, "Ah!" 2 screams sounded. Before the black-winged monarch and the white-winged monarch could get close to Qin Feiyang, they were hit by 2 beams of purple gold divine light, and they were immediately blasted to the ground. Even the wings on their backs were broken. How is this possible? The 2 climbed up pathetically and looked at the statue in disbelief, blood spurting out of their mouths. When the mermaids were receiving the inheritance, they would fail if they were disturbed. But this outsider had the protection of the divine light? This was not fair. There is no such thing as fairness in this world. The Mermaid Emperor's eyes were like torches, and he could see through the thoughts of the 2. He shook his head and smiled, and Qin Feiyang's consciousness was very clear. He could clearly feel that the purple gold divine light was continuously flowing into his body, and it was also opening up his meridians. Boom! In less than 5 breaths, all the meridians in his body opened up, and the purple gold divine light flowed along his meridians like a flood, rushing toward a certain place. And this place was Qin Feiyang's lower abdomen. This was also where the Qi Si was. The so-called Qi Si was where the battle Qi was stored. In other words, with the help of the purple gold divine light, his cultivation was advancing toward the battle monarch realm. "I didn't expect that I would receive the inheritance of my ancestor on this trip," Qin Feiyang murmured. The excitement in his heart could not be any greater. Wang Hong letting him go to the state capital by himself was actually helping him. Suddenly, his face contorted. Opening up the Qi Si was like opening up an internal space in a complete rock, and the whole process was extremely painful. Many people could not bear the pain when opening up the Qi Si, and thus fainted. And this was equivalent to digging one's own grave. Either they would die, and their bodies would explode from the true Qi, or they would fail, and never have the chance to step into the battle monarch realm. But to Qin Feiyang, this bit of pain was nothing at all, because the pain of opening up the Qi Si was completely incomparable to the pain of opening up the door of potential. Boom! All of a sudden, a muffled explosion came from within his body. The purple gold divine light crushed the shackles and poured into a dark area. This was the Qi Si. As the purple gold divine light poured in, the Qi Si also became brighter. It was a fist-sized space. At the same time, Qin Feiyang's aura also crazily soared, and finally he heard a 1-star battle emperor. Moreover, behind him a huge beast shadow appeared. When the beast shadow solidified, it was actually a purple gold divine dragon. It was 100 meters long, with 5 huge dragon claws under its abdomen and a thick dragon horn on its head. The whole thing looked lifelike, as if a real divine dragon had descended. Roar! It circled around Qin Feiyang, letting out a loud dragon roar that reverberated at the bottom of the sea for a long time. Moreover, there was also a mighty dragon's aura that spread in all directions. At this moment, other than the Mermaid Emperor and the others, almost all the clansmen of the Mermaid clan were kneeling on the ground in worship. His battle soul is actually a purple gold dragon soul, exactly the same as the first emperor. The Mermaid Emperor's body trembled violently, and his old eyes shone with endless light. Purple gold dragon soul. Qin Feiyang raised his head to look at the battle soul. The excitement on his face could not be concealed. His father, the current emperor, had activated the golden dragon battle soul. According to the ancient records, the golden dragon battle soul was far inferior to the purple gold dragon soul. "Father, you didn't expect that I, who was expelled from the imperial capital, would be able to activate a battle soul that is even stronger than yours." He clenched his fists tightly, and his eyes spat out a thick flame of hatred. Boom! However, at the next moment, behind him a flame suddenly appeared. Immediately, the flames overflowed into the sky, illuminating the entire undersea city. What's going on? Qin Feiyong was bewildered, looking at the flame behind him in confusion. The Mermaid Emperor and the others were also at a loss. Father, look, there seems to be something inside the flame. The Mermaid Princess stretched out her slender finger and pointed at a certain place, shouting in surprise. Including Qin Feiyong. Everyone looked over. Within the flame there was a fire lotus. The fire lotus had a total of 9 leaves, and its shape was almost exactly the same as the snow lotus. However, the difference was that each leaf was condensed from flames. How is this possible? He actually has 2 battle souls. The Mermaid Emperor suddenly exclaimed, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets. 2 battle souls. The Mermaid clan suddenly burst into an uproar. Although every living thing that stepped into the Battle Monarch realm had the opportunity to activate the battle soul, not every living thing could succeed. Some people failed. It could be said that there was only a 50% chance. Generally speaking, those who succeeded only had 1 battle soul. In history, there had indeed been 2 battle souls, but those were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. As long as they did not die prematurely, they would definitely be an overlord in the future. The key now was that Qin Feiyong had activated 2 battle souls, and one of them was the purple gold dragon soul. This was even more incredible. In the entire Great Qin Empire, only the first emperor had the purple gold dragon soul. Chapter 279. 2 War Souls. Qin Feiyong's eyes shone brightly. This was truly a pleasant surprise. Clang! However, without waiting for everyone to calm down, another loud bang suddenly exploded in their hearts. It was as though a divine sword had been unsheathed. With Qin Feiyong as the center, rays of shocking sharpness spread out in all directions, covering the sky and the earth. Behind him a fiery red sword soared into the air. The battle sword was more than 10 meters long. It was completely red as though it was cast from lava. 3rd War Soul. Qin Feiyong was stunned. The Mermaid Emperor and the others were stunned as well. The Holy Land fell into a deathly silence. This person had activated 3 War Souls? Was this a dream? That was right. This had to be a dream. This was because there had never been a person with 3 War Souls in the Great Qin Empire. However, when they rubbed their eyes and looked at Qin Feiyong again, their hearts were filled with shock and astonishment. The purple gold dragon soul was like a true dragon. It danced above Qin Feiyong's head. Its might shook the world. The 9-leaf fire lotus hovered on his right. Waves of fire surged into the sky. It was as though he had transformed into a god of fire. The crimson sword soul hovered on Qin Feiyong's left. Its sword chi was like a rainbow that pierced through the air. This was not a dream. He really had 3 war souls. Unbelievable. How did he do it? Was he still human? With these 3 war souls, I won't have to worry about not being able to reach the imperial capital. I'll kill all my enemies. Qin Feiyong looked at the purple gold dragon soul, the 9-leaf fire lotus, and the crimson sword soul. He was filled with pride. With just a thought, the 3 fighting souls turned into a ray of light and entered his body, becoming one with his body. Meanwhile, the true qi in his sea of qi was quickly converted into battle qi. There were 3 types in total. The first type was the purple gold dragon qi. The second type was the fiery battle qi. The third type was the crimson sword qi. The attribute and color of battle qi were closely related to the war soul. For example, Yin Nanshan's war soul was a firehawk. His battle qi was fiery red. For example, Zhua An's battle soul was a black python, and his battle qi was black in color. In short, the type of fighting soul that was activated would determine the type of battle qi that would appear. Furthermore, every fighting soul had its own gifted superpower. The difference was in strength and weakness. For example, Wolf King's fighting soul had the innate ability to rob other living beings of their fighting souls. The stronger the power of the divine ability, the higher the level of the fighting soul. The purple gold divine light on the emperor statue gradually dissipated. This also meant that the inheritance had ended. Qin Feiyong also slowly landed on the ground. He suppressed the excitement in his heart and turned to look at the face of the statue. Ancestor, thank you for granting me the purple gold dragon soul. He bowed to the statue 3 more times. The purple gold divine light on the statue dissipated completely, and the seawater surged in from all directions. Qin Feiyang hastily activated the water avoidance pearl and the cold avoidance pearl. Then he stood up, his eyes shining brightly. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. As long as he stepped into the Battle King realm, not only would he be able to open the 2nd page of the elixir scripture, but he would also be able to refine higher-level elixirs. Most importantly, he would be able to continue cultivating the 6-word divine formula. The power of the return word divine formula was already so amazing. The 2nd divine formula would definitely be even more powerful. At this moment, with the help of the mermaid princess, the mermaid emperor came to Qin Feiyang. He cupped his hands and smiled. May I know your name? Senior, you are too polite. My name is Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled. Your surname is Qin. He has also received the recognition of the 1st emperor, and has awakened the purple gold dragon soul. Could he be a descendant of the 1st emperor? The mermaid emperor secretly pondered and was quite shocked. He smiled and said, Brother Qin, can you do me the honor of going to the palace for a chat? That's what I was thinking. Qin Feiyang also had a lot of doubts in his heart. The mermaid emperor smiled. Suddenly, he frowned and turned to look at the white-winged emperor and the black-winged emperor. He said with a sullen face, this Brother Qin is the descendant of the 1st emperor. No one is allowed to hurt him. In addition, no one is allowed to disturb me while I am talking with Brother Qin. He added. Humph! The 2 snorted coldly, flapped their wings, and broke through the waves with a gloomy look in their eyes. Qin Feiyang glanced at the 2 and raised his head to look at the 3 stone statues behind the statue of the 1st emperor. The 3 stone statues all had fishtails and wings. But the difference was, the stone statue in the middle had a fishtail and wings that were golden. The stone statues on the left and right had a fishtail and wings that were white and black. And they all had a total of 5 pairs of wings. Strange. Qin Feiyang was puzzled. They are all ancestors of the mermaid clan. The mermaid emperor explained. The statue in the middle was the 1st mermaid emperor. The statue on the left was the 1st black-winged emperor. The statue on the right was the 1st white-winged emperor. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization and asked suspiciously, the 1st mermaid emperor has golden wings. Why don't you and the princess have them? I am ashamed to say this. Although I am the emperor of the mermaid clan, I have not received the inheritance of the ancestors. Only those who are recognized by the ancestors can grow golden wings. As for my daughter, she is only an 8-star martial arts grandmaster now, and has not received the inheritance. I hope she can succeed. The mermaid emperor sighed. Father, I will definitely succeed. The mermaid princess looked at the statue of the 1st mermaid emperor, with a determined look in her beautiful eyes. At this moment, a black light suddenly flashed out from the eyes of the statue of the 1st black-winged emperor, and landed on one of the dozen or so mermaids who were praying below. Ah! A magical scene suddenly appeared. That person screamed in pain. The clothes and skin on his back split open, and 2 black wings grew out from both sides. At the same time, a black shadow appeared behind him. It was that person's fighting soul. And it was also a humanoid fighting soul. It was exactly the same as the fighting souls of the other black-winged guards. I see. Qin Feiyang finally understood. This humanoid fighting soul came from the 3 statues. The mermaid emperor smiled and said, this is the inheritance of the mermaid clan. Every mermaid's fighting soul is the shadow of the 3 great ancestors. Qin Feiyang asked, you did not receive the inheritance. Does that mean you do not have a fighting soul? Yes, this is the reason why the black-winged emperor and the white-winged emperor have always been dissatisfied with me. The mermaid emperor sighed deeply. In that case, if the princess can receive the inheritance, grow golden wings, and activate the fighting soul, will the black-winged emperor and the white-winged emperor dispel the thoughts in their hearts and fully support her? Qin Feiyang asked. Logically speaking, that is indeed the case. Because mermaids with golden fishtails have the purest bloodline power, and there will not be one in hundreds of years. According to the rules of the mermaid clan, as long as a mermaid with a golden fishtail is born, She is destined to be the next mermaid emperor. But people's hearts are unpredictable. No one knows the true thoughts of the black-winged emperor and the white-winged emperor. The mermaid emperor shook his head and sighed. He glanced at the 30-odd white-winged guards and said, "There are too many people here. Let's go somewhere else to talk. Please follow me." Qin Feiyong nodded. It seemed that the father and daughter were in a very bad situation in Undersea City. The mermaid emperor did not stop along the way and returned directly to his palace. After closing the door, the mermaid emperor ordered the mermaid princess to prepare a seat for Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and said, "No need. Let's talk business." "Business?" The mermaid emperor was stunned. The mermaid princess said, "Father, you may not know, but Qin Feiyong is also a top-grade alchemist. I am begging him to help me refine a prolongation pill." "A top-grade alchemist?" The mermaid emperor was shocked and cupped his hands. "May I ask, little brother, how old are you now?" Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "Almost 17. "Almost 17? In other words, he was only 16 years old now? Stepping into the battle monarch realm at the age of 16? And 3 war souls? And a top-grade alchemist? This was too shocking. The mermaid princess also opened her red lips slightly and looked at Qin Feiyong in disbelief. She originally thought that the man in front of her was at least 20 or 30 years old, but he had a young face and did not look old. But she never expected that he was really a 16-year-old boy. She also did not expect that the human boy she casually brought would be a once-in-a-lifetime genius. Looking at the exaggerated expressions of the father and daughter, Qin Feiyong could not help but smile helplessly. It seemed that he had to keep a low profile in the future. Ahem. He coughed dryly and avoided the topic of the prolongation pill. He wondered, why is the statue of the first emperor here? The mermaid emperor came back to his senses, pondered for a moment and said, "Before answering this question, I want to ask, are you a descendant of the first emperor?" "No." Qin Feiyong shook his head. "Impossible." The mermaid emperor said flatly. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Did he have any proof to make such an assertion? The mermaid emperor said, "Just now in the sacred ground, I said that only one kind of person can gain the recognition of the first emperor and obtain his inheritance." The mermaid princess and Qin Feiyong nodded. This person must have compassion for the common people, and a heart that embraces the world. At the same time, he must have the bloodline power of the first emperor. The mermaid emperor said, "There is such a thing?" Qin Feiyong frowned. So, his identity could not be hidden anymore? "Brother Qin, you don't have to be so vigilant. Because the ancestors of the mermaid clan had a very deep relationship with the first emperor. Otherwise, the first emperor would not have left a statue here. Moreover, the reason why the mermaid clan can survive until today, and have this piece of land in the Great Qin Empire is also because of the first emperor's kindness," the mermaid emperor said with a smile. There was obvious gratitude on his face. Qin Feiyong said calmly, "Since the first emperor is kind to you, why do you still have thoughts of rebellion?" "Thoughts of rebellion?" The father and daughter were stunned. "Brother Qin, what do you mean? When have we ever had thoughts of rebellion? You can't say such things." The mermaid emperor said anxiously. There was panic in his eyes. Qin Feiyong frowned. "I remember that the 2 Blackwing guards who sent me to prison said such a thing. They said that it is a great shame that the Great Qin Empire is ruled by people like us. They dared to say such things without restraint. And you still dare to say that you have no thoughts of rebellion?" Qin Feiyong shouted. "This is a great injustice." The mermaid emperor lamented. The mermaid princess was also a little anxious. If this misunderstanding was not resolved, Qin Feiyong would not refine the prolongation pill for her father. Chapter 280. The atmosphere in the hall was extremely heavy. The mermaid princess looked at her father and then at Qin Feiyong. "I can guarantee with my life that my father has no intention of rebelling." Qin Feiyong shook his head. "I only believe what I hear." The mermaid princess gritted her teeth. "Fine, I'll tell you the truth. It's not my father who wants to rebel. It's the black-winged monarch and the white-winged monarch." Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. They don't want to stay in the ocean of despair and want to fight for a place on land, but they've been suppressed by my father. If they take the throne, they'll definitely take action. The mermaid princess said. They're digging their own graves. Qin Feiyang sneered. With the power of the great Qin Empire, destroying the mermaid race was as easy as blowing off dust. Of course, we know that we don't have the strength to challenge the great Qin Empire. That's why my father is determined not to pass the throne to them. The mermaid princess sighed. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and then asked the mermaid emperor, "You're not weak. Why don't you just kill them?" "I can't kill them. If I kill them, all the black-winged monarchs and white-winged monarchs will rebel. At that time, my mermaid clan will inevitably fall into the suffering of war. Plus, their strength is about the same as mine. Now that I'm about to die, I can't beat them." The mermaid emperor shook his head. Qin Feiyang frowned. "If that's the case, why don't they just kill you and take the throne? They have their own concerns. The mermaid emperor has always been a golden mermaid. This is the rule left by our ancestors. If they take the throne first, it's against our ancestors' rules. Second, the other mermaids won't recognize them. Unless I announce to the world, admit it with my own mouth, and give the throne to them. This is why they don't dare to kill me and my father," the mermaid emperor said. Qin Feiyang understood. This was the misfortune of the royal family. If he was just an ordinary person, why would he have so much trouble and so many worries? Qin Feiyang asked, "You just said that the first emperor was kind to your mermaid race. What's going on?" The mermaid emperor said, "Unless you are a descendant of the first emperor, I will not answer you." "Who?" Qin Feiyang glanced at the father and daughter. After hesitating for a while, he nodded and said, "Okay, I admit that I am indeed the son of the current emperor." The mermaid emperor shuddered and bowed. "Greetings, your highness." He had no doubts. That was because he had obtained the heritage of the first monarch and awakened the purple gold dragon soul. The mermaid princess at the side was astonished. The person she brought back was actually a prince of the Grand Qin Empire? Meanwhile, inside the castle, Fatso and Lu Hong were also shocked. They knew that Qin Feiyang had a powerful background, but they did not expect him to be so powerful. No wonder Qin Feiyang knew everything. No wonder he had mastered so many perfect martial skills. It turned out that he was the son of an emperor. The two of them could not help but look at Wolf King. They saw that Wolf King was lying on the side, not affected in the slightest, quietly taking a nap. This guy had long known Qin Feiyang's true identity. "Babe." Fatso suddenly laughed strangely and said, "Lu Hong, Fat Lord is right. Following the boss, you will have a bright future." Lu Hong nodded. There was no doubt about that. Moreover, even if Qin Feiyang was not the son of an emperor, with his monstrous talent, his future was limitless. Inside the palace, seeing that the mermaid princess was still in a daze, the mermaid emperor hurriedly said, "Daughter, what are you waiting for? Quickly bow to his highness." "Forget it." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and shook his head. "I'm just a prince in dire straits. There's no need to be so polite." He said it so casually. He was even a little conflicted about this identity. The mermaid emperor could not help but have a trace of doubt in his heart. But he did not ask much. As long as he knew that this child was the descendant of the first emperor, it was enough. Qin Feiyang thought for a moment and said, "I hope you can help me keep my identity a secret." "A secret? Your Highness, don't worry. The mermaid clan is isolated from the world. For 10,000 years, we have never appeared in front of anyone. In addition, we live under the sea. Even the current emperor, your father, does not know of our existence. We will definitely keep your secret." The mermaid emperor was stunned at first, then said solemnly. Qin Feiyang believed this, because in the historical records of the imperial palace, there was almost no information about the mermaid clan. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "In that case, tell me about the situation of the first emperor." He had always worshipped this ancestor and wanted to know more about his past deeds. This matter dates back to 10,000 years ago. The mermaid emperor told him everything in detail. Turned out that, when the first emperor founded the Great Qin Empire, the mermaid clan had already existed, and their overall strength was very strong. At that time, the mermaid clan also wanted to rule this territory, which posed a great threat to the first emperor. But the first emperor, whether in strength or strategy, was almost unmatched. In just a few years he swept the mermaid clan. Originally, the mermaid clan thought that the first emperor would kill them all, but they did not expect that in the end, they were merciful and were able to preserve their bloodline and survive. Moreover, the first emperor also erased that part of history. This was also the reason why there were no relevant records of the mermaid clan in the historical records of the underground palace. There is a transformation pill, but I haven't seen a bottleneck-breaking pill. After Qin Feiyong said that, he continued to look down. His eyes suddenly locked on a certain spot, smiled and nodded. There is a bottleneck-breaking pill. Wolf King immediately howled excitedly and roared, "Fatso, hurry up and see if there are any medicinal materials for the transformation pill and bottleneck-breaking pill. Why are you in such a hurry? Can't you see that the boss is still looking?" Fatso rolled his eyes. "Found it." Qin Feiyong's eyes lit up. "What did you find?" The two men and the wolf looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyong said with a smile, "Life-prolonging pill. According to the prescription, the best quality life-prolonging pill can prolong one's life by 200 years. If it is a divine pill with dragon-shaped pill qi, one pill can prolong one's life by 10,000 years. Really? The two men and the wolf leaned over and looked in the direction Qin Feiyong was pointing. Their eyes suddenly burst out with brilliant light. This pill with dragon-shaped pill qi is too amazing, isn't it? Wolf King asked, "Little Qin Zi, how can we refine a pill with dragon-shaped pill qi?" Qin Feiyong shook his head and said, "There is no record in the pill scripture. It may be in the last few pages, but it must have something to do with alchemy, fire and spiritual force. Then I guess we will never be able to refine a dragon-shaped pill qi in our lives." The fatty's face was filled with disappointment, because the level of spiritual force was innate and could not be improved like cultivation. For example, Lu Hong's spiritual force was at the 5th level, so it would always be at the 5th level. Don't be discouraged. Nothing is certain. Lu Hong, prepare the brush and ink. Qin Feiyong said with a smile. The path of cultivation was endless. There was no way now, but it did not mean there would be no way in the future. Maybe there was a way to improve the strength of spiritual force, but they did not know it. After Lu Hong prepared the brush and ink, Qin Feiyong wrote down the medicinal materials for the life-prolonging pill one by one. Then, he put down the brush and walked to the iron box. What will the second magic art be? Looking at the iron box in front of him, Qin Feiyong's eyes were full of expectation. He bit his finger and a drop of blood fell on the iron box. Clang! After the iron box was opened, Qin Feiyong directly turned to the second page. Fight! An eye-catching word suddenly came into sight. It was as majestic as iron hook and silver stroke. And Chapter 281. As the battle intent surged, the three men and one wolf all retreated under their instincts. Their bodies and minds were trembling. This battle intent was too strong, enough to shock anyone's heart. Without a doubt, the second divine art was the battle word art. Qin Feiyong swallowed his saliva, walked to the front of the iron box, looked at the word battle, and then looked at the small words below. The stronger the opponent, the braver the more he fought. This was the profound meaning of the battle word art. Moreover, once the battle word art was activated, no matter how serious the injuries were, he would be able to recover in an instant. In a protracted battle, he had the absolute advantage. As expected of a divine art, Qin Feiyong could not help but become excited. One had to know. In a bloody battle, the scariest thing was to be seriously injured, because even the highest grade healing pill could not instantly heal the injury. However, as long as he had the battle word art, he could completely catch his opponent off guard. The most important thing was that the battle word art did not have any side effects. Qin Feiyong knew that once used, he would fall into a weakened state for a period of time. Anyone with a little bit of ability could easily deal with it. But the battle word art would not. However, the next headache was that copying the battle word art would definitely be the same as copying the return word art, delaying the speed of cultivation. Sure enough, it was impossible to have the best of both worlds. Qin Feiyong took a deep breath, closed the 6-word art, grabbed the list of medicinal ingredients for the prolonging life pill, and prepared to leave the castle. Fatso said, "Boss, there's something I want to discuss with you." "What?" Qin Feiyong turned to look at him in confusion. Fatso hesitated for a moment, then said, "Can you wait for Lu Hong and I to break through the War King before leaving?" "Why?" Qin Feiyong was puzzled. Fatso laughed awkwardly. "Although we all know that only you can obtain the inheritance of the first-generation emperor, we still want to bask in your glory and see if we can get any benefits." Qin Feiyong could not help but laugh. "Is that okay?" Fatso asked. Qin Feiyong said, "If I remember correctly, you are only a 5-star martial ancestor, and Lu Hong is only a 6-star martial ancestor. When you break through to the 9-star martial ancestor," Fatso hurriedly said, "Don't worry. If we haven't broken through to the 9-star martial ancestor realm within a year, we'll leave immediately." 1 year. Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and nodded. "All right, I'll give you 1 year." "Thank you." Fatso looked at him gratefully. "Work hard on your cultivation." Qin Feiyong smiled and left the castle. A year's time was neither short nor long. He could afford to wait. Furthermore, as long as he could prolong the life of the Mermaid Emperor, it would be easy for him to leave the Sea of Despair with the help of the Mermaid clan. Therefore, he wasn't in a hurry to leave. Just nice. He could also take the opportunity to focus on copying the battle symbol formula. Inside the palace, the Mermaid Emperor was relatively calm. Perhaps when his time was up, he was more open-minded about everything. But when the Mermaid Princess saw that Qin Feiyong hadn't come out for a long time, she was like an ant on a hot pan, anxious and uneasy. The moment Qin Feiyong came out, she came in front of Qin Feiyong and asked, "How is it? Do you have the pill formula?" "I have the pill formula. But you have to find the herbs yourself. Also, I have a rule. I will never refine pills for free. This is the list. Take a look." Qin Feiyong said and handed the list over. The Mermaid Princess hurriedly took the list and looked at it carefully. The Mermaid Emperor also looked down. A moment later, the Mermaid Emperor looked up at Qin Feiyong and shook his head. "We don't have any of these herbs." "None." Qin Feiyong was stunned. "Look at my head." He slapped his forehead in annoyance. The herbs for the life-prolonging pill could only survive on land. And this was the bottom of the deep sea, and the water was so cold. How could there be any? "Wait a little longer," Qin Feiyong said and entered the castle again, handing the list to Fatso. "Look for it and see if there are any herbs for the life-prolonging pill." Fatso immediately took out his Qingkuan bag and searched. Bang! Suddenly, a loud sound came from outside the castle. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Outside, the Black Wing King and the White Wing King rushed into the hall side by side. The Mermaid Princess frowned. "What do you want now? Can you let us have a few days of peace?" The Black Wing King sneered. "If you want peace, it's very simple. Immediately announce to the world that you will abdicate the throne to us." The White Wing King said, "That's right. As long as you give up the throne, we will never disturb you again." "What?" The father and daughter's expressions changed. The Mermaid Emperor said angrily, "Are you forcing me to abdicate?" The Black Wing King said, "Not forcing but abdicating." The Mermaid Emperor said in a deep voice, "Don't even think about it. Even if I die, I will not announce it to the world." Swish! The wings on the White Wing King's back spread and he instantly landed in front of the Mermaid Princess. His large hand reached out and grabbed her neck. "What are you doing? Let go." The Mermaid Emperor was anxious. Who would have thought that the two of them had already lost their minds to this extent? The White Wing King said coldly, "If you don't do as we say, I will kill her." The Mermaid Princess hurriedly said, "Father, you can't agree to it." "Shut up." The White Wing King's 5 fingers tightened, and the Mermaid Princess immediately entered a suffocating state. However, she did not struggle, nor did she beg for mercy. She only looked at the White Wing King coldly. "If not for the fact that she is still useful, I really want to kill this little bastard immediately." The Mermaid Princess's gaze made the White Wing King very uncomfortable. There was a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. The Black Wing King walked to the White Wing King's side and looked at the Mermaid Emperor. Emperor, your daughter and the throne you choose for yourself. The mermaid emperor clenched his fists and closed his eyes. His old face was filled with pain. Daughter, I'm sorry. Father cannot give the throne to them. I can only sacrifice you, he muttered in his heart. He opened his eyes and looked at the two. He shook his head and said, even if you kill her, I will not give the throne to you. You old bastard, you're about to die, and you're still occupying the throne. Do you really think that I don't dare to kill you and your daughter? The White Winged King's face was ferocious and full of hostility. Kill us if you can. The mermaid emperor coldly glanced at the two. The White Winged King laughed sinisterly. Okay, I will kill your daughter first and then slowly torture you. Wait. The Black Winged King stopped him. He looked at the mermaid princess's beautiful face and laughed sinisterly. It's a pity to kill such a beautiful woman. Why don't we give her to our subordinates? The mermaid emperor's old body trembled. The White Winged King's eyes lit up. He nodded and said, good idea. Our subordinates have been eyeing this princess for a long time. She is still your niece. How can you be so heartless and do such a thing to her? The mermaid emperor roared, his entire body trembling. The Black Winged King shrugged and said indifferently, we have no choice. You forced us to do this. Don't blame us for being cruel. Stubborn. If that's the case, I will kill you today even if I have to sacrifice my life. The mermaid emperor's turbid eyes shone with a dazzling light. At the same time, a terrifying aura spread out from his body. At this moment, his back was straight and his eyes were sharp. He was like a lion that was about to awaken. The Black Winged King and the White Winged King instinctively took a few steps back. Don't you want your daughter's life? If you dare to kill us, our subordinates will let you know what madness is. The two of them said sinisterly. It doesn't matter. Anyway, the mermaid clan will be exterminated sooner or later in your hands. I might as well kill them myself. As soon as the mermaid emperor finished speaking, his aura exploded. The entire undersea city trembled at this moment. The White Winged King laughed coldly. Black Winged King, go and play with him. That's what I was thinking. Old thing, I have never faced you head on. I want to see if you are stronger or if I am stronger. The Black Winged King's body trembled. An aura that was not inferior to the mermaid emperor's roared out. Black Winged King, there is only one throne. Be careful not to be used by the White Winged King. When you and my father are both injured, I'm afraid the first person he will eliminate will be you. The mermaid princess caught her breath and hurriedly shouted, little niece, you are really smart. But unfortunately, your attempt to sow discord is useless. Because I have already discussed with the Black Winged King to jointly control the fate of the mermaid clan. The White Winged King sneered. What? The mermaid princess's face turned pale. At this moment, the mermaid emperor and the Black Winged King finally clashed. Boom! The palace instantly split into 4 or 5 pieces. The two leaped up, carrying dazzling battle auras, and charged toward the top of Undersea City. Because they did not want to destroy Undersea City. What's going on? Why is the emperor fighting with the Black Winged King? Those mermaids who did not know the truth suddenly became restless. But the Black Winged Guards and White Winged Guards in various places were very clear in their hearts. It seemed that they had completely fallen out. These two are really too much. In the ancient castle, Lu Hong's face was cold. Even if they wanted to deal with the mermaid emperor, they should not use such a despicable method. Little Qin, at the very least you've seen her naked. It's too irresponsible of you to just sit back and watch. Wolf King snickered. A row of black lines appeared on Qin Feiyong's forehead. But now he was not in the mood to bicker with Wolf King. He looked at Fatso and said, have you found the medicinal herbs? Don't rush me. Fatso waved his hand impatiently. Finding medicinal herbs was a very complicated and time-consuming task. Qin Feiyong said, Lu Hong, go and help. Lu Hong immediately squatted on the ground and helped to search. Fatso snickered and said, Boss, why don't you go out first and think of a way to save the mermaid sister-in-law from the White Winged King? Qin Feiyong's veins were bulging. If it weren't for the fact that Fatso was sweating profusely, he really wanted to kick him. And at this time he obviously couldn't appear. Because as long as he appeared, he would definitely be entangled by the White Winged King. One had to know, The White Wing King had always wanted to kill him. Besides, he couldn't help much if he went out. The only thing that could change the situation now was the prolongation pill. Chapter 282. Above the Undersea City. The battle between the Mermaid Emperor and the Blackwing Monarch had reached its climax. The seawater around them churned wildly. The Blackwing Monarch summoned his war soul. It was also a humanoid war soul, but it was dozens of times larger than the Blackwing Monarch's war soul. It was like a mountain above his head. "Go to hell, you old man," the Blackwing Monarch roared, and the war soul charged toward the Mermaid Emperor like a grim reaper. "Humph!" The Mermaid Emperor snorted, placed his hands in front of his chest, and quickly formed a seal. "Neptune seal kill!" With a low roar, a golden seal rushed out of his hands and collided with the humanoid war soul. Boom! Both of them were destroyed. The Blackwing Monarch flew out, his face pale. But the Mermaid Emperor kept spitting out blood as he flew. "The heavens are unfair. We are all mermaids, but why are you golden-tailed mermaids born to be the successor of the Mermaid Emperor? And we, the Blackwing Mermaids and the Whitewing Mermaids, have to obey your orders." The Blackwing Monarch roared. "Because our bloodline is purer than yours, and because we remember the ancestral teachings and follow them." The Mermaid Emperor steadied his old body and shouted each word clearly and forcefully. "What a ridiculous ancestral teachings! Mermaid Emperor, if you were at your peak, I would not be afraid of you. But now you are on the verge of death. Today is the day you die." The Blackwing Monarch roared and summoned his war soul again. Together with the war soul, they charged toward the Mermaid Emperor. "Even if my time is up, I am not someone you can disobey." The Mermaid Emperor was full of fighting spirit. Although he was at a disadvantage, he was not afraid at all. He brazenly fought with the Blackwing Monarch. "Father," the Mermaid Princess stared at the old man, her face full of worry. "Stop looking. Since we've already shed all pretense of cordiality, today will definitely be his doomsday." The Whitewing Monarch sneered. The Mermaid Princess said sternly, "The mermaid race will be destroyed by your hands sooner or later. You don't have to worry about that. By the way, where is that Qin Feiyang? My subordinates saw him enter the main hall with their own eyes. Why didn't I see him?" The White-Winged King's eyes flashed with killing intent. The Mermaid Princess said, "I advise you not to touch him, because he is not someone you can afford to offend." "Haha, can't afford to offend him? What a joke. When I find him, I'll kill him first." The White-Winged King laughed maniacally, his face full of contempt. "Inside the castle. Boss, it's all here. A total of 5 portions." Fatso put the sorted herbs into an empty Qingkuan bag and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Lu Hong also stood up and shook her head. "I didn't expect that the medicinal ingredients for the life extension pill would be even rarer than the medicinal ingredients for the potential pill." "Of course. Life is priceless." Qin Feiyang smiled, grabbed the Qingkuan bag, walked to the pill scripture, and read the refining method of the life extension pill in detail. After memorizing one by one, Qin Feiyang walked to the pill furnace, controlled the netherworld devil flame, and refined the spiritual liquid. It was his first time refining the life extension pill, so he was especially careful in every step. Especially the control of the fire. He couldn't be careless at all. Now he couldn't fail. Because with the Mermaid Emperor's current state, he couldn't last long. Every minute and second was consuming his life. The pitch-black flames burned fiercely. Inside the pill furnace it was crimson red. The temperature kept rising. The first medicinal ingredient required 20% of the fire. The second and third medicinal ingredients required 30% of the fire. Qin Feiyang gradually discovered that as the level of the pill increased, the speed of refining the spiritual liquid became slower. It seemed that he had to start looking for a higher-level pill fire and pill furnace. Otherwise, the efficiency of refining pills in the future would be greatly reduced. The fourth, fifth, and sixth medicinal ingredients required 50% of the fire. Until the last medicinal ingredient, it actually required 90% of the fire. Throughout the entire process, Qin Feiyang was also sweating profusely and his clothes were soaked in sweat. The next step was the fusion of the spiritual liquid. He absolutely could not fail at this step. He was very careful, even more so than when refining the potential pill. Crack. However, it was because he was too careful that he was a little nervous. When all the spiritual liquids were fused together, he lost control and a crack suddenly appeared in the pill furnace. Oh no! Qin Feiyang's expression changed drastically. This was the sign of a furnace explosion. If the furnace really exploded, it would be more than a failure. This was because he didn't have an extra pill furnace. If it really exploded, there was no way to continue refining. And the crisis of the mermaid clan naturally couldn't be resolved. I must not explode. He tried hard to calm himself down. Relying on his powerful mental strength and experience, he was finally able to control the situation. The pill furnace didn't explode, but the crack was growing rapidly. Before he could heave a sigh of relief, he controlled a piece of mental strength and poured it into a jade bottle on the altar, rolling out a drop of solidifying liquid. Crack. This time, a second crack appeared on the pill furnace. On the side, Fatso, Lu Hong, and Wolf King stared at the two cracks, their pupils constricting together. Their bodies were also sweating profusely. They were even more nervous than Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and slowly merged the solidifying liquid into the spiritual liquid. The spiritual liquid suddenly shone brightly and quickly solidified. The pill furnace also seemed to have reached its limit. The third and fourth cracks appeared one after another. The ear-piercing clanging sound reverberated within the ancient castle, affecting the minds of everyone present. Hurry up, hurry up! Everyone roared in their hearts. The pill was about to take shape. If the furnace exploded now, it would be even more tragic. Clang! Suddenly, accompanied by a deafening noise, the pill furnace suddenly exploded. At the same time, a dark green divine light swept out from the pill furnace. Qin Feiyang grabbed it in his hand. Following closely, the fragments of the exploding pill furnace sent him flying. Lu Hong, Fatso, and Wolf King were not spared. The sharp shards cut through their skin, and some even entered their bodies. Bang! 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 The three people and one wolf hit the wall behind them almost at the same time, and they all spat out a mouthful of blood. Qin Feiyang hurriedly checked his injuries and found that his heart and sea of qi were not hurt, so he quickly got up. Regardless of whether the pill in his hand was destroyed or not, he turned to Wolf King and the others and shouted, "Are you all okay? I won't die. It's not a big deal." Wolf King and Lu Hong got up one after another and shook their heads at him. Fatso was lying on the ground, motionless. Blood was gushing out of his chest. His eyes were like a dead man's. His pupils were dilated and empty. Qin Feiyang's expression changed. Could it be that his heart was hurt? He hurriedly squatted beside Fatso and shouted, "Fatso, wake up. If you're not dead, make a sound. His chest is bleeding." Lu Hong grabbed Fatso's clothes and tore them apart. Immediately, she saw a fragment inserted into Fatso's flesh. "It's over. Fatso must be dead. This bastard, when he was alive he made me hate him, and when he died he made me sad." Wolf King cursed angrily, his eyes a little wet. "Why is it like this?" Qin Feiyang's face was full of disbelief. Although Fatso was wretched and shameless, he was loyal to him and very loyal. He never thought that he would kill Fatso with his own hands. "It's all my fault. I shouldn't have refined pills in the castle." His heart was full of self-blame. Lu Hong's eyes were also red, tears welling up in her eyes. Cough, cough. But suddenly, Fatso coughed. His empty eyes quickly regained their color. When he saw Qin Feiyang and the others, he couldn't help but be stunned and asked, "What are you doing? Damn it, you're not dead. Bastard, you actually pretended to be dead and lied to us. Are you looking for a beating?" The two men and the wolf were furious on the spot. Pretended to be dead? Fatty was stunned for a moment before he abruptly stood up like a carp. He glared at the two men and the wolf, pointed to the position of his heart, and roared, "Are you all blind? If it weren't for Fat Lord's meat, this fragment would have already killed Fat Lord. And you said that Fat Lord pretended to be dead. Do you have a conscience?" Fatso roared with righteous indignation, the flesh all over his body trembling. "Meat?" Qin Feiyang, Lu Hong, and Wolf King looked at each other. Fatso's body of fat was still useful. At least for now, he was able to keep his life. Okay, it's our fault, please calm down. Qin Feiyong smiled at Fatso and said to Lu Hong, help him deal with it. Okay. Lu Hong nodded, turned her head and rolled her eyes at Fatso and said, bear with it. Then she reached out and pulled out the fragment. It hurts, be gentle. Can't you see that Fat Lord is injured? Fatso howled miserably. If you say any more nonsense, I won't help you. Lu Hong furrowed her brows. Okay, Fat Lord, bear with it. That's not right, why are your eyes all wet? Are you sad for Fat Lord? It seems that you still have a little conscience. Fatso laughed proudly, even forgetting the pain. The best. Qin Feiyong shook his head helplessly, opened his hand, and a pellet-sized elixir appeared in his sight. The elixir was dark green with a strong aura of life. A circle of elixir patterns surrounded the elixir, emitting a dazzling light. Seeing the elixir patterns, Qin Feiyong breathed a long sigh of relief. Although the furnace exploded, although Fatso almost lost his life, the prolongation elixir was not destroyed. However, finding a new elixir furnace was now the most urgent task. After dealing with it, you guys hurry up and cultivate, Qin Feiyong warned. Then, he activated the water avoidance pearl and cold avoidance pearl and left the ancient castle. The palace is destroyed? As soon as he appeared, seeing the palace that had been turned into ruins, Qin Feiyong couldn't help but be stunned. At the same time, powerful ripples of battle could be felt coming from above. He looked up and his expression suddenly changed. The Mermaid Emperor was completely suppressed by the black-winged guard. Not only was his golden fishtail shattered, but his entire right arm was gone. Blood was gushing out, dyeing the seawater red. His upper body was also covered in wounds. Fortunately, the prolongation elixir didn't fail, Qin Feiyong muttered. Facing the young and vigorous black-winged king, the Mermaid Emperor had no chance of winning. Qin Feiyong, be careful. Suddenly, the Mermaid Princess exclaimed, little bastard, come. Let me see the strength of someone with a purple gold dragon soul. The white-winged king's bone-chilling voice followed. What's your cultivation level? And what's my cultivation level? You have the nerve to say that. Can you be any more shameless? Qin Feiyong turned his head to look at the white-winged king and directly scolded him to his face. This old man deserved a scolding. Chapter 283. Boom! Before his voice died away, the white-winged king roared out a terrifying aura that rolled toward Qin Feiyong. This aura is even stronger than Yan Nanshan's. Qin Feiyong was secretly shocked. Could this person be a 9-star combat emperor? When he was enveloped by the aura, he felt as if he was being pressed down by a giant mountain. His legs trembled violently and he found it difficult to breathe. Kneel down before me, the white-winged king roared. Don't even think about it. Qin Feiyong screamed and broke free from the restraints of the aura. He roared, Mermaid Emperor, come down quickly. The white-winged king and the black-winged king were stunned. There was a trace of suspicion in their eyes. However, the Mermaid Princess and the Mermaid Emperor were pleasantly surprised. He must have refined the prolongation pill. Boom! The Mermaid Emperor's aura was like a rainbow. He went all out and crazily attacked the black-winged king. After a few breaths, he pushed the black-winged guard back with one palm and did not continue fighting. He rushed toward Qin Feiyong like lightning. White-winged king, quickly kill that little bastard. The black-winged king steadied his body and chased after the Mermaid Emperor while shouting at the white-winged king. He had a premonition that something would happen next. Moreover, it was related to that human youth. The white-winged king glanced at the Mermaid Emperor. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he pointed his index finger in the air. Boom! A white battle chi gushed out. Like a giant python, it rushed toward Qin Feiyong. Be careful! The Mermaid Emperor and the Mermaid Princess shouted at the same time. Kill me? You don't have that ability. Qin Feiyong's lips curled into a mocking smile. With a thought, he disappeared without a trace. The battle chi swept past the place where he disappeared. Not far away, a few palaces were instantly razed to the ground. The sound of the explosion was deafening. The white-winged king and the black-winged king were surprised. Earlier their subordinates had told them about this, but at first they did not think much of it. Wasn't it just a magician? What's the big deal? But now that they saw it with their own eyes, they realized that this was not the case at all. This person wasn't performing a magic trick. He had a treasure that allowed him to hide. At this moment, the Mermaid Emperor landed where Qin Feiyong had disappeared. Whoosh! Qin Feiyong appeared out of thin air and gave the prolongation pill to the Mermaid Emperor. Thank you. The Mermaid Emperor looked at him gratefully. While the Black Wing Monarch and the Mermaid Emperor were still in a daze, he quickly threw it into his mouth. Medicinal pills. And it's a pill with pill veins. The Black Wing Monarch and the Black Wing Monarch's eyes widened. Although they were in a trance, they could still clearly see the pill veins on the life-prolonging pill. The supreme grade pill that Qin Feiyong gave to father just now was the prolongation pill. The mermaid princess's eyes were full of ridicule. What? Damn little bastard. The two of them were instantly furious. Boom. And at this time, the Mermaid Emperor's aura finally recovered to its peak. Black Wing Monarch, White Wing Monarch, do you still want to continue? He glanced at the Black Wing Monarch and the White Wing Monarch, his whole body emitting a terrifying aura of an emperor. Most of the wrinkles on his face had disappeared, and his face was glowing. He was at least 10 years younger. The Black Wing Monarch's face was gloomy. Suddenly, a look of madness appeared in his eyes. Since we have already shed all pretense of cordiality, then we must fight to the death today. Kill. He summoned his human-shaped war soul, and with a low roar, he charged forward angrily. At the same time, he formed a seal with both hands, and a palm-sized black seal, carrying a shocking demonic aura, charged toward the Mermaid Emperor. This was another battle art of the Mermaid clan. Seal of the Sea King. It also came from an inheritance, and only the Black Wing Mermaids could cultivate it. Don't be stubborn. The Mermaid Emperor roared. Golden light shone in front of him, and a terrifying aura erupted like a volcano, unstoppable. The Seal of Neptune appeared out of nowhere. This was one of the battle arts that the Mermaid Emperors cultivated. The Seal of Neptune turned into a bright golden light, breaking through the water waves, crushing the human-shaped war soul, shattering the Seal of the Sea King, and bombarding the Black Wing Monarch. Ah! Immediately, the Black Wing Monarch screamed and flew out. On all sides of Undersea City was an endless mountain range. Mountains stacked on top of each other. The Black Wing Monarch flew into the mountain range, smashing one peak after another. The rumbling sound was like thunder, deafening. So strong. Looking at this scene, the White Wing Monarch could not help but shudder. What's the point of this? The Mermaid Emperor sighed deeply, retracted his gaze, and looked down at the White Wing Monarch. He said indifferently, "It's not too late to turn back now." The White Wing Monarch's heart trembled. In his heart a deep fear emerged. His large hand firmly grabbed the Mermaid Princess' neck, and he laughed sinisterly. "Don't be so complacent. Break your own arms now or I will really kill her." The Mermaid Emperor clenched his 10 fingers, and there was a trace of hostility in his eyes. Cough cough. At this moment, the Black Wing Monarch flew over in a sorry state, constantly coughing up blood, and laughed sinisterly. "Your daughter is in our hands. You have no choice." "Is that so?" The Mermaid Emperor looked at the two of them, and a smile crept onto his face. He looked at the Mermaid Princess and said, "Daughter, for the safety of the Mermaid clan, father can only let you down." The Mermaid Princess smiled and slowly closed her eyes, without the slightest hint of blame. Seeing this, the Black Wing Monarch and the White Wing Monarch became anxious. If the Mermaid Emperor really did not care about the Mermaid Princess, then they would be completely finished today. "I'll kill you first." The Mermaid Emperor suddenly looked at the Black Wing Monarch, and killing intent appeared in his eyes for the first time. Boom! He took a step forward and landed in front of the Black Wing Monarch. The Black Wing Monarch's pupils shrank, and he hurriedly retreated. But the Mermaid Emperor was faster, and a palm landed on his chest. "Ah!" The Black Wing Monarch screamed, and his entire chest caved in. Blood gushed out of his mouth. He really wants to kill. The White Wing Monarch's heart trembled. The Mermaid Emperor was easygoing, and he never cared about gains and losses. And he would not be angry because of one thing. Even when facing those unpardonable evil clansmen, he would persuade them with kind words. In the eyes of all the Mer people, he was a benevolent emperor. So, even if he did not activate his battle soul and did not have the golden wings, he was still deeply loved by the mermaid clan. But this time, he was really angry. He took another step forward, and his big hand turned into an eagle's claw, grabbing the Black Wing Monarch's wing. With a puff, a piece of the black wing was torn off by the mermaid emperor on the spot. The Black Wing Monarch's face contorted, and he screamed, "Let go of our king!" A group of Black Wing guards rushed over angrily. "What? Do you want to rebel like the Black Wing Monarch? If so, I don't mind uprooting all of you Black Wing guards." The mermaid emperor glanced at them coldly. It was not easy for the mermaid clan to survive until now, and he did not want to hurt these clansmen. But Qin Feiyong was right. They should be cold-blooded. Sometimes they had to use iron-blooded methods. Kindness would only increase the other party's arrogance. Hurt. All the Black Wing guards stopped in unison, and their eyes were filled with fear. The mermaid emperor now seemed to have changed into a different person, cold and ruthless, and they were afraid. The mermaid emperor grabbed another piece of the Black Wing Monarch's wing and tore it off forcefully. Blood spurted out like a fountain. "Emperor, please show mercy and spare the king's life. No matter how wrong he is still the king of the mermaid clan. Even if he doesn't contribute, he has worked hard. Emperor, I beg you." Those Black Wing guards all knelt on the ground begging, "King, let the princess go as well. Don't make any more mistakes. As long as you know your mistakes and can change, the emperor will definitely forgive you." A group of White Wing guards also ran over and knelt in front of the White Wing Monarch, begging, "It seems that the outcome has been decided." Chapter 284. As soon as Qin Feiyong appeared outside, everyone present looked at him in unison. Their expressions were different. The mermaid emperor and his daughter were very grateful. The Black-Winged King and the White-Winged King were full of resentment. If it weren't for Qin Feiyong's interference, the mermaid emperor would have been killed long ago. The control of the mermaid clan had already fallen into their hands. It was this human youth who had ruined their overall plan. As for the White-Winged Guard and the Black-Winged Guard, their expressions were full of fear. Everyone was watching, but Qin Feiyong was extremely calm. He had seen even grander scenes than this before. He glanced at everyone and said indifferently, "Don't look at me like that. I'm just a passerby." The White-Winged King said angrily, "Since you're just a passerby, why are you getting involved? Do you have nothing better to do? I just can't stand your style. What's wrong?" Qin Feiyong looked at him indifferently. Hearing this, the White-Winged King was so angry that his nose was crooked. A White-Winged Guard said anxiously, "King, don't quarrel with him. Let go of the princess. If this goes on, the emperor will really kill you." Haha, not only did the White-Winged King not let go, he even laughed loudly. "You're hopeless." The mermaid emperor's face turned cold. The seal of Neptune appeared out of thin air and shot toward the White-Winged King like a golden meteor. "Mermaid Emperor, do you really think that this king and the Black-Winged Guard want to rebel? Now this king will tell you that it's the will of the ancestors to make you back down." The White-Winged King laughed wildly. "Ancestors?" Qin Feiyong frowned. "Impossible." The mermaid emperor shouted resolutely. Swish! At the same time, two figures, one black and one white, silently descended above the undersea city. They were also two mermaids. A black-winged fishman, a white-winged fishman. They were both middle-aged and quite tall and sturdy, but behind them there were actually 3 pairs of wings. The white-winged fishman waved his hand, and a white beam of light swept out. The seal of Neptune that was heading toward the White-Winged King was instantly annihilated and turned into nothingness. "Who is it?" The mermaid emperor was shocked. He looked up and his expression changed. "Greetings, White-Winged 9 ancestors, Black-Winged 9 ancestors." At this moment, all the fishmen prostrated themselves on the ground, including the White-Winged King. The mermaid emperor did not kneel, but his expression was one of respect. White-Winged 9 ancestors. 9 Black-Winged ancestors. Qin Feiyong felt a chill in his heart. 3 pairs of wings. He didn't expect the Merfolk clan to have such a strong person. When he visited the undersea city with the mermaid princess had mentioned it to him. The merfolk's wings would increase with the improvement of their cultivation. The warlord had a pair of wings. The war emperor had 2 pairs of wings. 3 pairs of wings was in existence that surpassed the war emperor. The 2 ancestors also looked at Qin Feiyang. The moment their eyes met, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel his heart tremble. However, he didn't avoid their gazes. Instead, he looked directly at the 2 of them. From their eyes he could see a trace of greed. That was right. The 2 of them must be coveting something on him. Immediately, Qin Feiyang's heart sank. After a while, the 2 ancestors turned their gazes and glanced at the Mermaid Emperor and the others. White-Winged King released the princess. Mermaid Emperor released the Black-Winged King as well. The White-Winged 9 ancestors said expressionlessly, "Yes." The White-Winged King bowed and finally released the Mermaid Princess. The Mermaid Emperor also released the Black-Winged Guard. He looked at the 2 of them and asked, "Just now the White-Winged King said that all of this was your idea. Is that so?" "That's right, it was our idea." The 2 of them nodded. "Why? Did I do something wrong?" The Mermaid Emperor said angrily. "On the contrary, you did very well, but in the end, you did not obtain the inheritance of the first Mermaid Emperor. Now that your time is up, you should give up the throne." The 2 ancestors were a little disappointed and regretful. The Mermaid Emperor said in a deep voice, "I have already taken the prolonging pill and have 100 years of life." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "No, the best prolonging pill can extend your life by 200 years. What?" The White-Winged King and the others were shocked. The Mermaid Princess was also stunned. She quickly came in front of Qin Feiyang and asked, "Is this true?" Qin Feiyang nodded. "That's great." The Mermaid Princess was overjoyed. "Haha," the Mermaid Emperor also laughed and said, "Ancestors, did you hear that? I still have 200 years of life." "So what? For powerhouses like us, 200 years is just a blink of an eye." The 2 ancestors glanced at Qin Feiyang and said faintly, 200 years is indeed too short. But I am confident that I can break through the War Emperor realm and step into a higher realm within 200 years. The Mermaid Emperor's heroic spirit soared to the sky, and his entire body was brimming with unparalleled confidence. He was not exaggerating, because his cultivation realm was about to break through. But unfortunately, his time was up. He thought that he would regret it for the rest of his life. But he never expected that Qin Feiyang would appear at this time and give him a chance to be reborn. Hearing his words, the 2 patriarchs were rather moved. This was the first time they saw such a confident side of the Mermaid Emperor. The White-Winged King suddenly said, "Ancestors, don't listen to his nonsense. He is just stalling for time." Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Even now, he still wanted to get rid of the Mermaid Emperor. This person was really malicious. The most important thing was, these 2 ancestors were not good people either. They thought that the outcome was already decided, but now it seemed that this was just the beginning. At the same time, the Mermaid Princess also glared at the White-Winged King. But the Mermaid Emperor turned a deaf ear. He did not even look at the White-Winged King. His eyes were fixed on the 2 ancestors. Perhaps in his eyes the White-Winged King was just a clown. A moment later, the Black-Winged ancestor shook his head and said, "Whether you can break through in 200 years or not, you must abdicate today." The white-clothed ancestor said, "That's right, this is what all of us want." The Mermaid Emperor's face darkened. "All of us?" Qin Feiyang was shocked and asked in a low voice, "Princess, who exactly is there in your mermaid clan who has surpassed the War Emperor? They live in another place and rarely appear. Some of them have even never appeared, so I'm not too sure." The Mermaid Princess whispered. It seems that the strength of the mermaid clan is not to be underestimated. Qin Feiyang muttered to himself, "We don't have time to waste." Quickly announced to the world that the Black-Winged King and the White-Winged King will be given the throne. Seeing that the Mermaid Emperor did not respond, the 2 ancestors lost their patience and urged him. The Mermaid Emperor clenched his fists and said, "If you can guarantee that the Black-Winged King and the White-Winged King will never betray the great Qin Empire, I can give up the throne. You don't need to worry about this. You just need to enjoy your old age, the two ancestors said. The Mermaid Emperor was not angry. Instead he smiled. However, his face, which was full of vicissitudes of life, carried a kind of desolation and self-deprecation. Qin Feiyong also felt inexplicably sad. It could be seen that the Mermaid Emperor really was a saint emperor who loved his people as if they were his children. He desperately wanted to protect the inheritance of the Mermaid clan. Unfortunately, there were too many ambitious people in the Mermaid clan. The Mermaid Princess whispered, Qin Feiyong, you are the son of the emperor. Can you help my father? How can I help? Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. He was the son of the emperor in name only. Not to mention helping the Mermaid Emperor. If his identity was exposed and spread to the ears of those in the imperial capital, there might be no place for him in the entire Great Qin Empire. The White Wing ancestor raised his eyebrows and said, Mermaid Emperor, do you need me to repeat myself? Sigh. Glancing at the huge undersea city, the Mermaid Emperor sighed and nodded. Okay, this emperor will. Let's take a gamble. This time, Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed, took a step forward and shouted, wait. Everyone's eyes fell on him in an instant. The White Wing ancestor said, human young man, this is a family matter of the Mermaid clan. I advise you not to interfere. I can't help it. I don't have any good points, but I like to meddle in other people's business. Qin Feiyong shrugged. Meddling in other people's business is considered a good point? Everyone was speechless. I'm afraid you don't have the ability to interfere here. The eyes of the two ancestors flashed with a shocking cold light. Seeing this, the Mermaid Emperor hurriedly said, Little brother, thank you very much for standing up for this emperor at this time. But the situation is set. Who said the situation is set? The corner of Qin Feiyong's mouth raised slightly, looked at the two so-called ancestors, and said indifferently, to be honest, I really do have the ability. Not only that, I also have the ability to destroy the Mermaid clan. As soon as the last two words came out, his temperament changed drastically, like a cold-blooded god of death, making the Mermaid Princess next to him tremble. The killing intent of the two ancestors surged. Don't think I'm putting on an act. Look at what this is. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and an image crystal appeared out of thin air. A mere battle king actually has an image crystal? The two ancestors were shocked. This time, I crossed the desert of death and came to the sea of despair to go to the state capital. But I didn't expect that the state capital's test for me would let me discover the Mermaid clan. Say, if I report your matter to the state capital, how will the state capital react? What if I report the fact that you want to rebel? What will they do? Qin Feiyong sneered. As soon as these words came out, the mermaids around were in an uproar. The Mermaid clan had been able to survive until now because they had not been discovered by humans. If the news really spread, it would not be long before a large number of human powerhouses came here. The white-winged ancestor said in a deep voice, What do you want? The Mermaid Emperor will continue to be the Mermaid Emperor. As for you old things, do what you have to do, don't join in the fun. Qin Feiyong said. Impossible. The two ancestors said flatly. In that case, I'll inform the state capital now. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed sharply. Boom! The pressure of the two ancestors roared out at the same time, instantly shrouding Qin Feiyong. Immediately after. Chapter 285. Idiot! Qin Feiyong laughed in disdain and instantly hid in the castle. But as soon as he entered the castle, his heart became heavy. Other than Wang Hong, he had never met any other rankers that surpassed the War Emperor, so he didn't know if the castle could protect him. Fatso sighed, Boss, why are you doing this? Could it be that you really have taken a fancy to that princess? Stop talking nonsense. Qin Feiyong glared at him. Fatso asked doubtfully, Since you don't like her, why are you standing up for her? Haven't you heard of shooting the bird that sticks out? Aren't you usually very smart? Why are you so stupid now? If the Mermaid Emperor is really deposed, do you think we can leave the Sea of Despair alive? White-Winged King and Black-Winged King won't let me go, and the two great ancestors have ulterior motives towards me. Qin Feiyong's face darkened. For 10,000 years, the Merfolk clan was unknown to the world, because they were not discovered by outsiders. Now that he knew, he would definitely be silenced. Fatso thought about it carefully and realized that it was true. He was a little embarrassed and laughed. With Fat Lord's brain, there's no reason for him to not think of this. He must have been infected by Wolf King's stupidity. Oh, Wolf King immediately bit down. Pain, pain, pain. Brother, Fat Lord is wrong, quickly let go. The meat is about to fall off. Fatso howled miserably on the spot. Serves you right. Qin Feiyong glared at him fiercely and listened carefully to the movements outside. Where is he? Where did he hide? 2 ancestors, he has a treasure to hide in. He must be hiding in there right now. A conversation was transmitted into the castle. Qin Feiyong finally heaved a sigh of relief. Next, he sized up the castle, his eyes shining brightly. Even the existence of the War Emperor could not sense the existence of the castle. What kind of treasure did Uncle Yuan leave for him? After I find Uncle Yuan, I must ask him clearly. Qin Feiyong, come out immediately. Let's talk. The voice of the White-Winged 9 progenitor suddenly appeared. Fatso hurriedly said, Boss, you can't go out. If they're lying in ambush outside, you'll die in their hands the moment you go out. Qin Feiyong frowned and sighed. If only I could see the situation outside. Who? He took a deep breath and entered a state of high alert. Whoosh! With a flicker he appeared outside. Boom! Immediately, a large hand grabbed at him. It was the White-Winged 9th ancestor. His entire body carried a strong killing intent. Qin Feiyong's pupils shrank as he hastily took a step back and shouted, You're courting death. I'll report this to the state government right now and have your Merman clan exterminated. Fortunately, he was prepared. Otherwise, he would have lost his life in that instant. The White-Winged 9th ancestor frowned. This young man was too vigilant. Shua. At this moment, the Mermaid Emperor swooped down and stood in front of Qin Feiyong. Looking at the White-Winged 9th ancestor, he shouted, Do you really want my mermaid clan to perish? Humph! The White-Winged 9th ancestor coldly snorted and sent a sound transmission. He knows too much. He must be silenced. If you kill him now, we will let you continue to be the Mermaid Emperor. An existence that surpassed the War Emperor could directly send a sound transmission. Right now, only the Mermaid Emperor could hear it. The others, including Qin Feiyong, who was right behind the Mermaid Emperor, could not hear it. The White-Winged 9th ancestor thought that the Mermaid Emperor would agree. However, the Mermaid Emperor didn't even think about it and said, He is the successor of the first emperor. Our mermaid clan should protect him, not kill him. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Hearing the Mermaid Emperor's words, he immediately knew that the White-Winged 9th ancestor must have secretly instigated the Mermaid Emperor to kill him. Old thing, you were the one who was heartless first. Don't blame me for being unjust. He sneered. He took out the image crystal and poured his battle chi into it. The Mermaid Emperor's expression changed, and he hurriedly said, Little brother, you can't tell the people outside. I beg you, please have mercy. It was too late. A peerless aura swiftly manifested. It was his cheap sister, Ren Wuxia. Quickly dodge, don't let her see you. The Mermaid Emperor roared. For a moment this place was in chaos. All the mermaids ran towards a place where Ren Wuxia could not see. After Ren Wuxia appeared, she looked at the environment behind Qin Feiyong and frowned. Feiyong, where are you? Qin Feiyong looked at the Mermaid Emperor. The Mermaid Emperor was silent and looked at him pleadingly. He then looked at the 2 great ancestors, as well as the White-Winged Emperor and the Black-Winged Emperor. The White-Winged Emperor and the Black-Winged Emperor's faces were also full of fear. The 2 great ancestors frowned and their eyes were hazy. Qin Feiyong looked up at Ren Wuxia and said with a smile, Sister, I found a very fun place. Do you want to come? Ren Wuxia smiled faintly and said, I want to, but as soon as I returned to the state capital, I was locked up by Grandpa. Don't just play around. Hurry up and report to the state capital. I'll be there as soon as possible. Sister, who is your grandpa? Even Wang Hong showed respect when he mentioned him? Qin Feiyong was puzzled. In fact, he was giving the Mermaid Emperor time, because he believed that the Mermaid Emperor must know his intention. Sure enough, The mermaid emperor immediately flew to the two great ancestors and whispered something with an angry face. Ren Wuxiang smiled and said, "My grandpa's status is very high. When you come to the state capital you will know." "High? Is it higher than the governor's?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. "It won't be higher than the manor head, but it won't be lower either." Ren Wuxiang smiled mysteriously. Qin Feiyang was getting more and more puzzled. Suddenly, a terrifying thought appeared in his mind, and he said in surprise, "Is your grandpa the governor?" "Not higher than the governor's but not lower either." Then only the governor met these two conditions. Ren Wuxiang was stunned and said with a wry smile, "I wanted to give you a surprise, but I didn't expect you to guess it so quickly. This cheap sister's grandpa was actually the governor's?" Qin Feiyang's mood suddenly became complicated. What he was most afraid of was meeting the governor. But now, with his relationship with Ren Wuxiang, it was only a matter of time before they met. At the same time, knowing that Qin Feiyang was acquainted with the governor's granddaughter, the mermaid emperor was even more anxious. The two great ancestors' eyes also changed, and there was a trace of deep fear in their eyes. "Qin Feiyang, let's talk again." The white-winged 9 ancestors transmitted their voice. They finally compromised. They could only compromise because if Qin Feiyang said it, the army of the state capital would probably immediately rush to the Sea of Despair. Qin Feiyang also laughed. Ren Wuxiang asked in confusion, "What are you laughing at?" "Nothing. I just haven't seen you for a few months. Sister, you've become prettier." Qin Feiyang chuckled. "Little bastard." Ren Wuxiang rolled his eyes and frowned. "Are you in some kind of trouble?" Qin Feiyang laughed narcissistically and said, "I'm such a smart person. What kind of trouble can I get into?" "Well, I'll contact you when we get to the state capital." Ren Wuxiang rolled his eyes and said, "Be careful on the way. If you really can't do it, let me know. I'll send someone to pick you up." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded and put away the image crystal. He looked at the two great ancestors and said with a smile, "It should be like this from the beginning. There's no need to hurt our friendship." A hint of hostility flashed in the eyes of the two. "This is a matter of our clan. As an outsider, you shouldn't interfere. But since it's already like this, let's think of a more fair way to solve this matter," the black-winged ancestor said. Qin Feiyang crossed his arms and said with a faint smile, "Since you said so, you must have thought of a way. Tell me about it." "If the princess can grow golden wings in 3 days, the mermaid emperor will continue to rule the mermaid clan. But if he can't, he has to give up the throne and you can't continue to interfere," the black-winged ancestor said. "That's fair?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and was about to speak. The mermaid princess said first, "Ancestors, with all due respect, you're obviously biased. To accept the inheritance, one must break through to the battle monarch realm. But I just broke through to the 8-star martial grandmaster realm. How can I do it in 3 days?" "After talking for so long, don't you want my father to abdicate? In the past, when I heard rumors about you, I respected you, but I didn't expect you to be so unreasonable." She scolded with righteous indignation. "That's right. If she's given enough time, I guarantee that she can grow golden wings. Because the bloodline power in her body is several times stronger than mine." The mermaid emperor almost roared, and his face was full of pride. The black-winged ancestor said expressionlessly, "This is the biggest concession we can make. Whether you can do it or not depends on your ability." Slap. The sound of a loud slap could be heard. Qin Feiyang clapped and said with a smile, "Wonderful, wonderful. I've finally seen it. What's the meaning of being invincible? It should be referring to the two of you." The two ancestors clenched their fingers tightly, and the cracking sounds of their joints could be heard. They were extremely angry. If it were not for the fact that they were not confident, they would have killed Qin Feiyang long ago. Qin Feiyang glanced at the two of them with undisguised disdain. He looked at the mermaid princess and asked, "Are you really confident that you can grow golden wings?" "Yes." The mermaid princess's eyes were firm. Qin Feiyang looked at the two ancestors and said, "Do you mean what you say?" "Of course." The two of them nodded. Qin Feiyang said, "Well then, let's go to the sacred land immediately." Everyone was surprised. Princess, 3 days is too long. I only need 3 breaths to help you break through to the 9-star martial grandmaster realm. Qin Feiyong flicked his sleeves and took the lead to walk to the sacred land. 3 breaths. The mermaid princess's body and mind trembled. How could he do it in 3 breaths? But in her heart, she believed Qin Feiyong's words. Daughter, follow him quickly. The mermaid emperor grabbed the mermaid princess and chased after Qin Feiyong. He also chose to believe Qin Feiyong unconditionally. The reason was very simple. This young man was the successor of the first emperor. Breaking through to the 9-star martial grandmaster realm in 3 breaths? What a daydream. I'd like to see how you can do it. The 2 ancestors looked at each other and flew to the sacred land with a face full of sarcasm. Let's go and see how that arrogant idiot embarrasses himself. The White-Winged King and the Black-Winged King also led their subordinates and rushed to the sacred land. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.